Chapter 2235. Hit it off. 1. This so-called incubation period could be long or short. Therefore, he couldn't guarantee to the patriarchs of the 7 divine regions that the Yao family's poison was under control, as Elder Yao Jiu had requested. What if he was saying, what if another person's illness acted up again? Who would be responsible for this? Therefore, after thinking about it, Zongyun felt that he could not take the blame. Therefore, when he saw the master of the Ning family and the others, he said directly, Elder Yao Jiu asked me to come. The various family heads were all old and experienced people. The moment they heard this, how could they not understand what Zongyun meant? The head of the Chung clan said with a smile that was not a smile, Your Excellency Zongyun, as a pill master, you must be responsible for what you say. I'm sure you're aware that if we continue to stay in the Yao family, we'll be implicated if someone in the Yao family has an illness. It's not impossible, right? Hearing these words, other than nodding his head, Zongyun didn't seem to have any other reaction. To be honest, the poison in the Yao family is very strange. Although it's the same kind of snake poison as the one in the other 4 divine realms, the Yao family's symptoms are obviously much deeper than the other 4 families. Therefore, I guess that the Yao family has been poisoned for a long time and has gotten used to it. The reason why the Ning's symptoms acted up so quickly is that they're new here and are very resistant to the poison. That's why they reacted faster than the Yao family. Zongyun guessed with a serious expression. In that case, does it mean that someone has a grudge against the Yao family? Otherwise, why would he poison the Yao family? And our 4 families have become the unlucky ones in the Yao family incident and are innocently implicated? The master of the Yin family came to a conclusion and said with a dissatisfied expression. This, Zongyun didn't know how to continue the conversation. After all, he was a pill refiner of the Yao clan. Isn't it obvious? Fortunately, the Qi clan, Yu clan, and Fan clan came late. Otherwise, our 8 great divine regions would have been wiped out by them. The patriarch of the Chung clan also roared in a low voice with an angry expression. Old man Ning, we can't stay in the Yao family anymore. We have to move out, else we might all be in trouble. The head of the Chung clan added, What do you guys think? The master of the Ning family didn't express his opinion directly, but asked for the opinions of the others. Master Ning, didn't we agree to move out together? We want to change our mind. The head of the Qi family promised. It is. That's right. The other patriarchs also expressed their intentions. Seeing that his mission had failed, Zongyun did not continue to persuade him. Otherwise, if something really happened, he would not be able to bear the responsibility. After that, Zongyun bade farewell to the 7 family heads. Then, he specially went to tell Elder Yao Jiu that he had tried his best. Elder Yao Jiu was well aware that Zongyun had not tried his best. However, at a time like this, he obviously couldn't fall out with Zongyun. Therefore, he could only inform his master of the Ning family's intention to move out. Thanks when the head of the Yao family heard this, his face turned green with anger. Originally, he wanted to come to find the master of the Ning family and the others in person, but unfortunately, they didn't want to see him at all. They even regarded him as the source of infection, as if he would fall ill at any time. They also told him not to walk around casually, in case he infected others. This fact made the head of the Yao family so angry that it was as if he had eaten gunpowder, and he had no way to vent it. In the end, he had no choice but to agree to the Ning family and the other 7 families temporarily move out of the Yao family and arrange accommodation for them in the main city. Even though the Yao family had taken precautions, the news of the Yao family being poisoned still spread out. Within a day, the news had spread throughout the entire divine world. For the sake of their own safety, the major powers around the Yao family had sent people to the Yao family's divine realm to inquire about the situation. They had also forbidden the Yao family's people from entering the divine realm. This kind of behavior, which seemed to be adding insult to injury, made the head of the Yao family extremely angry. If it wasn't for Elder Yao Jiu stopping him, he might have already charged into the territories of those forces and started a massacre. The ninth elder of the Yao family finally appeased his old ancestor with great difficulty before he worriedly brought up the matter of the poisoning. Clan head, although the poisoning incident has been contained, the impact of this incident is too bad. We must give the outside world an explanation. Otherwise, our Yao clan will have a hard time in the divine realm in the future. In the study of the Yao family's patriarch, Elder Yao Jiu said bluntly, "Of course I know that, but the poisoning is getting worse and worse, and it's out of control unless we find the real murderer. Otherwise, I'm afraid we won't be able to explain ourselves." The head of the Yao family said with a headache, "If that's the case, we have to speed up the investigation." Elder Yao Jiu said. In fact, he was also worried because there were no clues at all. Even if he wanted to investigate, he had no clue. "Master, the great elder requests an audience." Suddenly, the guard's voice sounded out of nowhere. Elder Yao Jiu couldn't help frowning when he heard it. What's the matter for the great elder to come at this time? He wouldn't be here to add insult to injury, right? Let him in. The head of the Yao clan said. "Master, the divine master's estate has sent someone." The Yao clan's first elder immediately said as soon as he entered the study, his face filled with joy. Could it be that the divine master's estate is also here because of the poisoning? The head of the Yao family immediately had a bad feeling. Such a small matter had actually alarmed the divine master's estate. "That's right, Patriarch." The exalted divine master's emissary said that God Lord Fog Ripple had sent him to express his regards to us and to give us a few pointers. "You see," the first elder of the Yao family spoke the truth as he looked at the head of the family with anticipation. "Quickly invite him in." Hearing this, the head of the Yao family was puzzled, but he still couldn't wait to hear the divine lord's estate's opinion. "Yes." The great elder nodded in response. Not long after, a black-robed man was led into the study by the great elder. This black-robed man was the one who had visited the Phoenix clan before. As soon as the man in black saw the head of the Yao family, he immediately cupped his hands and bowed. Then he said with a smile, "The divine master has heard about the Yao family and sent me here to ask if there is anything that the divine master's estate can help with. If there is, please don't be polite. The divine master has ordered me to assist the Yao family with all my might. Thank you for your kind intentions, God Lord Rhyme. However, this matter is a bit difficult to handle, so I truly do not dare to trouble Lord Emissary." The head of the Yao clan laughed. "If there is anything that Yao family head needs this one for, please don't hesitate to ask. There's no need to be polite. This one will do my best to cooperate with the Yao family. But I don't know if there's anything that Yao family head cannot do. Why don't you tell us, and we can discuss it together?" After listening to the Yao family head's words, the black-shirt man immediately expressed his attitude. He was just short of saying that he would definitely be in charge of this matter. Seeing this, the head of the Yao family could only speak the truth. To tell you the truth, the Yao family's poisoning incident this time was very strange and without any signs. Therefore, we all agree that it should be done by someone who has a grudge against our Yao family. It's a pity that we can't guess who the poisoner is. AI. After saying that, the head of the Yao family sighed heavily. Chapter 2236. Hit it off. 2. Could it be Lung Ruakshu's doing? The black-clothed man deliberately paused for a moment before he spoke with some hesitation. Her? How could she be so bold? Moreover, not everyone can barge into our Yao family. So, the possibility of Lung Ruashua poisoning you is not too high, right? The head of the Yao family understood what the man in black meant, but he did not want to go along with his words. Furthermore, the man's intentions were too obvious. He did not even need to guess to know that the God Lord's estate wanted to frame Lung Ruashua for the poisoning. In fact, he also wanted to. It was his fault for not being able to find the person who poisoned him. From the looks of it, Lung Ruashua was the most suitable person to be the scapegoat. Anyway, everyone was calling her out to be beaten, so it shouldn't be strange for her to do something like this, right? He had understood the divine Lord's estate's intention. What he needed to do now was to gain the most benefits from this matter. After all, he was helping the divine Lord's estate to defame Lung Ruashua. If the God Lord's estate did not give him some benefits, he would not cooperate. The possibility of Lung Ruoxue poisoning him is very high. The black-robed man knew what the Yao family had meant, but he still had to put on a serious look and persuade him. Then he heard him continue, "Other people may not know why you invited the other 7 god domains here, but you can't hide this from us, the God Lord's estate. And think about it. If Lung Ruoxue knew that you've called for an all-party meeting to target her, do you think she would do nothing? Allowing you to target her? Do you think anyone would believe you if you said that? Moreover, with Master Ning around, this matter can't be hidden from Lung Ruoxue. So, it's only natural that she knows about this and deliberately came to cause trouble. So, for the sake of the Yao family, you have to insist that Lung Ruoxue did this no matter what. Her motive was to take revenge on the Yao family. In that case, you might even be able to pull in a few allies. You must know that Lung Ruoxue has offended many people." The man in black didn't give the head of the Yao family a chance to speak and added, "Of course I understand what the Great Messenger means, but there must be evidence for this. If I were to say that Lung Ruoxue was the one who did it, the master of the Ning family would definitely be the first to come after me. You should know that he's also in the Yao family's divine realm. If he gets angry because of this and destroys my Yao family's divine realm, my loss will be huge." Hearing this, the head of the Yao family said with a worried expression, "Don't worry, Master Yao. The Divine Master has said that as long as you insist that Lung Ruoxue was the one who poisoned your family, the Divine Master will compensate you no matter what losses the Yao family suffers. She won't let the Yao family suffer any losses in vain." The man in black felt that there was no need to hide his purpose anymore, so he made it very clear. When the Yao family head heard this, he was very satisfied. After all, the Yao family hated Lung Ruoxue to the core. Now that there was such a good opportunity, he would be extremely stupid if he did not make use of it, especially when he thought about how the God Lord's estate would deal with the aftermath for him. His heart was filled with even more confidence. Because of Lung Ruoxue, the Yao family had lost a lot of property. This time, the Yao family might be able to make up for their losses by borrowing the God Lord's estate's power. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but thank the person who poisoned him. After the two of them reached an agreement, the head of the Yao family immediately treated the black-clothed man as a distinguished guest. The black-clothed man enjoyed the treatment he received in the Yao family and stayed in the Yao family. However, his identity was too sensitive and not suitable to be exposed. Therefore, he specifically told the head of the Yao family not to let too many people know that he had been here. The head of the Yao family understood and nodded in agreement. After making the arrangements for the black-clothed man, the head of the Yao family ordered the first elder and the 9th elder to carry out this matter together. As for him, he pretended to know nothing and shuttled back and forth between the poisoned Yao family members and his own residence. The first elder and the 9th elder of the Yao family busied themselves for several days and finally arranged all the details. Then, they patiently waited for the day when the truth of the poisoning would be unknown and when it would erupt without anyone knowing. They thought that their actions were very secretive, but little did they know that their every move had long been monitored by Lung Ruoxue and the others. Thanks at this moment, the Ning family and the other members of the 7 great divine regions have been arranged to stay in the Yao family's inn in the main city. Of course, the inn they were staying in now also belonged to the Yao family. As soon as Uncle Long and the others entered their rooms, they could not wait to get Lung Ruoxue to move them into their personal rooms. Seeing how calm and proud the head of the Yao family was, as well as how the first elder and 9th elder of the Yao family were like spinning tops, working nonstop every day, Lung Ruoxue and the rest watched the Yao family members' self-entertainment through the screen as if they were watching a movie. In the garden, the master of the Ning family teased with a smile, "Schwetter, the God Lord's estate has guessed correctly by accident. You were the one who poisoned him. However, I'm very curious about how many people will believe the trick they used to frame you. It doesn't matter how many people will believe it. What's important is that this matter will be blamed on me." Lung Ruoxue laughed. She was really looking forward to that day. She believed that it would definitely be very lively that day. "Woman, Why don't I go and bite the man in black again? He's really too hateful. He actually wanted to frame you." At this moment, Xiaohua, who was wrapped around Lung Ruoxu's jade-white wrist, spoke. "Hee, I did ask you to do this, so how can this be considered framing?" Lung Ruoxu laughed. "But they don't know." Fiery said angrily, "Fuck. He dared to frame his woman. He must have lived long enough. If it had known that they were so bad, it would have poisoned them more heavily." Looking at Xiaohua's face that was filled with righteous indignation, Lung Ruoxu's mood brightened up. Following that, she used her fingers to tease Xiaohua, only stopping when Xiaohua was so angry that its eyes were spewing fire. After that, Xiaohua simply ignored her and formed a bracelet around Lung Ruoxu's wrist. It then fell asleep. Uncle Long and the others couldn't help but laugh. For the next few days, Lung Ruoxu could count the time on her fingers. AI, counting the days that the Yao family had arranged, Lung Ruoxu could not help but sigh heavily. There were still 3 more days. She was getting a little anxious. Seeing her like this, the demon smiled helplessly and said, "Shwika, since you're so bored, why don't we go and play with that man in black?" That's good." When Lung Ruoxu heard this, she immediately perked up. The moment the demon said this, Lung Ruoxu was not the only one who was interested. Seeing that Uncle Long and the rest were also looking at them with eager eyes, Lung Ruoxu could not help but wave her small hand and said forthrightly, "Let's go together. It's better to have fun together than to have fun alone." Upon hearing this, Uncle Long and the others immediately perked up. They had been acting like they were poisoned for the past few days, and they felt uncomfortable all over. They had long wanted to go out and exercise their muscles and bones. Chapter 2237. Hit It Off. 3. Following that, Lung Ruoxu instructed Ling to conceal the identity of those who wanted to leave. Then, the group of them set off towards the Yao family. They found the Yao family's main courtyard with great familiarity. Lung Ruoxu and the rest deliberately made some noise. In addition, it was currently the middle of the night. Although the guards of the Yao family heard the noise, they did not see anyone. Instantly, the guards, who were usually not so timid, were all scared out of their wits. "Ghost! Ghost!" someone shouted, and the guards instantly scattered. Seeing them like this, Lung Ruoxu's forehead was filled with black lines as she transmitted a message. What kind of world is this? Even a god was afraid of ghosts. Could it be that this isn't the divine realm? Ha! Of course, this is the divine realm. The demon couldn't help but laugh when he heard this. I think they've done too many bad things. Otherwise, they wouldn't have reacted so strongly. Uncle Long also joked. These people are so boring. Lung Ruoxu started to despise him, then continued. Let's go and find that man in black. Let's hope he's more resistant to playing. Actions speak louder than words. As Lung Ruoxu thought of this, she had already taken a step in the direction of the man in black. The courtyard the man in black was in was considered remote in the Yao family's main residence, and this was also a special request made by the man in black to prevent others from discovering his existence. In addition, other than the head of the Yao family, only the first elder and the 9th elder knew that he was living here. A moment later, Lung Ruoxu and the rest arrived at the courtyard of the man in black. Before they even got close, everyone could hear the intermittent moans and sobs of a woman coming from inside. This scene made everyone look at each other. Just as everyone was hesitating whether they should go in and disturb the man, a man's low roar came from inside. "Arg! Ramais!" Instantly, Lung Ruoxu and the others were speechless. Ugh! What was going on? This accident instantly made everyone decide to go in. However, the evildoer pulled Lung Ruoxu into his arms and was constantly on guard to not let her see the dirty things that she should not see. Since he had decided to go in, Uncle Long naturally took the lead and did not neglect his responsibility. The anxious Uncle Long went straight to the room where the man in black was after he entered the courtyard. It was the only room with the light on. At this moment in the room, just as everyone thought, there was an unsightly performance that was not suitable for children. As they walked closer, the moans, begging for mercy, low sobs, and the roars of men became clearer. The words Wu Jing would come out of the man's mouth from time to time. At this moment, Uncle Long, who was smiling evilly, gently pushed open the door and walked in. I didn't expect Uncle Long to have such a hobby. Lung Ruoshua couldn't help but ask. If Uncle Long finds out, he'll beat you up. Uncle Lien warned him carefully when he heard this. Uncle Long can't bear to beat me up, Lung Ruoshua said confidently. As for Lung Ruokshu's confidence, Uncle Lien expressed that he was helpless. Suddenly, Uncle Lien saw Lung Ruoshua hand him a pill. He couldn't help but look at her in confusion. Of course, he didn't think that this girl was going to give him the medicine. However, giving him the medicine at this time was probably not a good thing. As expected, in the next second, Uncle Lien heard Lung Ruokshu's evil smile. Take this medicine to the man in black and throw it in the corner of his room. However, you have to be careful. Don't fall for it. Lung Ruokshu's words piqued Uncle Lien's curiosity. Like a curious baby, he asked, "What is this medicine? Let's ask our esteemed Shenua." He was the one who refined this medicine. Lung Ruoshua tossed the ball to Shenua, and she laughed even more happily. When Shenua heard that, she couldn't help but blush. It's a powerful aphrodisiac. Speaking of which, he had refined the pill by accident. He had found a captive to test the effects of the pill before he knew what the pill was for. After that, he had jokingly given the pill to Lung Ruoshua. Now, Lung Ruoshua was obviously giving it to the man in the room. Thanks, When Uncle Lien heard Shenua's words, his expression changed. He knew that this medicine was not a good thing. As if he was holding a hot potato, Uncle Lien hurriedly ran into the house. Then, a few seconds later, he quickly ran out again, his old face with a trace of red. When Lung Ruoshua saw this, she could not help but tease. Uncle Lien, you have so many descendants. You should have been through hundreds of battles. Why are you still blushing? These words caused Shenua and the rest to involuntarily lower their shoulders as they snickered. Meanwhile, Uncle Lien's old face turned even redder as he could not help but growl. These are two different things. This detestable girl teasing him for no reason. This was really infuriating. Is that so? When Lung Ruoshua heard this, she blinked her beautiful eyes innocently. Seeing this, Uncle Lien felt extremely depressed. Fortunately, at this moment, Uncle Long came out from inside with a smile. Uncle Lien thought that he was saved, but when Lung Ruoshua saw him, she said something that made both of them depressed. Look at how calm Uncle Long is. He's been in the audience for so long, but he's never been as shy as you, Uncle Lien. AI, you really need to train. Girl, I have serious business to attend to. Uncle Long quickly explained awkwardly. Otherwise, these people would think that he liked to watch those things. He wasn't that perverted. Good. Both of you have proper business to attend to, but Uncle Lien is still more shy than you, Uncle Long. Lung Ruoshua laughed. I see. Then let him in for a while more. As soon as Uncle Long finished speaking, he lifted his leg and kicked Uncle Lien into the room. Who is it? Come out. Following that, they heard a roar coming from the room. However, Lung Ruoshua and the rest were extremely calm. Immediately after, Uncle Lien ran out of the room in a flurry and glared at Uncle Long. However, Uncle Long didn't care. At this moment, Lung Ruoshua smiled and said, "All right, mission accomplished. We should go back and sleep. It's not good to disturb other people's nightlife, so let's not stay here any longer." The moment Lung Ruokshu's words left her mouth, she immediately received a few disdainful gazes. However, the crowd still returned to the inn in a grandiose manner. The next day, when the Grand Elder went to visit the black-robed man as usual, he suddenly discovered that the door to the black-robed man's room was not closed, and a strange smell could be faintly smelled from inside. The Grand Elder was immediately shocked and hurriedly walked in. When he went to take a look, the Yao family Grand Elder's heart almost stopped beating. This was because the man in black was not only red all over, but his face was also dark and his breathing was weak. His back was facing up as he lay on the bed. Under him was a woman. The woman had the same appearance, but she was obviously not breathing. The Grand Elder's forehead was immediately covered in cold sweat. This black-clothed man was God Lord Fogripple's man. If something happened to him in the Yao family would have no way of explaining themselves to the God Lord's estate. As he thought of this, he quickly went forward to help the black-robed man up and covered him with a blanket. Then, he went to find Zhong Yun in a panic. The moment Zhong Yun entered the room, he smelled the scent of the room and immediately knew the symptoms of this man. However, out of caution, he still checked the man's body before saying to the Yao family's first elder, "Great elder, this person has overindulged in his desires and is only left with one breath. Prepare his funeral. No, he can't be in trouble." When the Yao clan's first elder heard this, his face paled. When Zhong Yun saw this, he could tell that the situation was getting serious. However, he had no choice. First elder, this person's essence qi consumption is too severe. Even if he's barely saved, he's already crippled. Thus, I feel that rather than letting him live in pain, it's better. Moreover, the price to pay to save him is extremely great. So, you'd better be clear about whether it's worth it or not. Zhong Yun took a deep breath and said honestly. In fact, as a pill master, it was his duty to refine pills and save people. However, there were some people that he really didn't need to save. This person in front of him was exactly the same. Letting him live was definitely more painful than death. No matter what price we have to pay, he can't die. You look after him, he'll go find the master. The first elder of the Yao family naturally understood what Zhong Yun meant, but he couldn't make the decision on this matter. After the first elder of the Yao family reported this matter to the head of the Yao family, the head of the Yao family gritted his teeth in hatred, but he also understood that this matter was of great importance. Hence, he could only grit his teeth and beg Zhong Yun to save that man at all costs. With the Yao family head's words, Zhong Yun naturally wouldn't be soft-hearted when he saved the people. After consuming countless precious herbs, the man in black finally woke up 2 days later. Although the Yao family's first elder did not mention his condition to the black-robed man, who was well aware of his own Buddhist condition, knew that he was finished. He was completely crippled. From now on, he would be a cripple, and his lord would never use him again. And it was all because of the Yao family that he ended up like this. Because if the Yao family had not provided him with that woman, causing him to lose control, how could he have indulged in excessive pleasure? In an instant, the man in black, who had clearly understood his situation, hated the Yao family. Soon after, the black-clothed man chose to leave with a dejected expression. The first elder, who represented the head of the Yao family, only politely asked him to stay before ordering people to send the black-clothed man off. The Yao family's first elder felt extremely unlucky that such a thing had happened. Fortunately, the truth of the poisoning incident was about to be revealed under their planning. Chapter 2238, Top Grade Witness 1. The day after the man in black left, the Ning family's master and the other 7 family masters were invited into the Yao family again. Originally, the 7 of them didn't want to go, but the Yao family head used the poison as an excuse, so they had to go unwillingly. On the way, the master of the Ning family asked with concern, "Elder Yao Jiao, has your patriarch's illness been cured?" When Elder Yao Jiao heard this, he was clearly stunned. Then, he reacted and suppressed his anger. "Master Ning, my master is not sick." "Not sick? Then why do we hear that more and more people from the Yao family were poisoned, and that the head of the Yao family was also poisoned and was currently in quarantine?" The head of the Chung clan asked in surprise. "The head of the family is in quarantine, and you still dare to come?" Hearing these words, Elder Yao Jiao couldn't help but sigh inwardly, but he still put on a pained expression and said, "Patriarchs, my patriarch is perfectly fine. Besides, if something really happens to him, do you still dare to follow me to the Yao family?" His original intention was to say, "None of you are stupid. You know that the master has something to do, but you still dare to go." However, the master of the Chung family and the others pretended not to know. The head of the Chung clan said carefully, "The reason we agreed to go to the Yao family was to verify the authenticity of the rumors. But if something really happened to your family head, even if we go, we won't see him. So he can't harm us. He knew that he was sick, but he still invited us to discuss about being poisoned. Isn't he clearly trying to trick us? Patriarchs, we have to be more careful and take protective measures in advance. Otherwise, if the old man of the Yao family goes crazy, we'll be in trouble. The master of the Yin family agreed. At this time, the master of the Ning family, who was already laughing in his heart, reminded him with a serious face, "Right. Everyone be careful later. Don't get bitten by the Yao family's old man. Otherwise, we might be implicated by him." As he listened to the clan heads cursing their own clan heads one after another, Elder Yao Jio was so angry that his face turned ashen, and he almost flew into a rage. Fuck! His master didn't have rabies, so how could he bite people? No, his master wasn't sick at all. It was even more impossible for it to bite. Elder Yao Jio was so angry that he secretly cursed. However, no matter how he said it, he felt that something was wrong. Then, he felt the strange and frightened gazes of the other clan heads, and instantly, he felt even more depressed. Damn it, these people wouldn't think that he had been poisoned, right? In fact, he was right. The Qi family and the other patriarchs saw Elder Yao Jio's face flicker between light and dark, green and purple, and truly felt that he was also showing signs of being poisoned. In an instant, all the patriarchs made a decision and jumped 30 feet away from Elder Yao Jio. This scene caused hazy white smoke to rise from the back of Elder Yao Jio's head. This further confirmed the rumor that the Yao family was mentally unstable. Coincidentally, this scene was seen by the spies sent by the surrounding forces. Therefore, the spies quickly sent the news back. As for whether the news would change after reaching the destination, it was not within their scope of judgment. Thanks, of course, Elder Yao Jio didn't notice any of this at the moment. Otherwise, he would have died of anger. As for Elder Yao Jio, he took a few deep breaths and decided not to argue with these hateful people. However, the truth was that they were all distinguished family heads. Even if he wanted to argue with them, they wouldn't take it seriously. It was the same logic as the ruler of a country not arguing with the errand boys of another country. To put it bluntly, he didn't have enough weight. If it was his own family head, he could really make a fuss if he wanted to. When it came to him, there was only one word that could describe his situation, and that was tolerance. After thinking through all this, Elder Yao Jio quickly calmed down and argued with a serious expression, "Family heads, my family head is currently alive and kicking without any problems, so please don't believe in rumors. You should know that rumors are forbidden to the wise. I believe that you are all people with great wisdom and can naturally make an accurate judgment." Upon hearing this, the few family heads who wished for the world to be in chaos blinked a few times. Then, they looked at Elder Yao Jio in admiration and thought to themselves, this guy's mental quality is not bad. She had actually adjusted her emotions so quickly. Oh, he was a talent. Seeing that the other family heads didn't have much of a reaction, Elder Yao Jio thought that they understood and said, "Clan heads, please." After this small interlude, everyone continued on their way. For the rest of the journey, the patriarchs were much quieter. Even when they arrived at the Yao family's main residence, none of them were looking for trouble. This fact immediately made the 9th elder of the Yao family, who had been on tenterhooks, let out a sigh of relief. These ancestors were really not easy to deal with. No wonder the great elder and the others were not willing to step up. Elder Yao Jio wanted to cry, but had no tears. However, this task was given to him by the family head, so he couldn't refuse it even if he wanted to. After inviting the family heads into the living room, Elder Yao Jio immediately disappeared without a trace. Of course, to the outside world, he said that he had gone to invite the family heads. After waiting for a while, he still didn't see the Yao family head. Instantly, the various patriarchs who had just quieted down for a moment had the trend of exploding again. The Yao family's old man is getting more and more arrogant. He invited us here and made us wait for him. Oomph. The master of the Ning family snorted. As soon as he spoke, the maidservant who followed behind him, Lung Ruoxua, immediately served tea and snacks. When Master Ning saw this, he nodded in satisfaction. No one dared to eat the Yao family's food anymore, so they all prepare their own food. Seeing Master Ning eat as he spoke without any delay, Master Ching couldn't help but reach out to grab a piece of snack and stuff it into his mouth. His impatient appearance made it seem as if Master Ning would snatch it back from his mouth. Old man Ning, you really know how to enjoy life. You actually have such a clever and nimble-handed maidservant by your side. It's just that he looks a little apologetic. But why is her cooking so similar to that girl's? The Chung clan head looked at Lung Ruoxue, who was disguised as a maidservant, and could not help but feel suspicious. However, Lung Ruoxue merely returned him an ugly smile before turning her head away. Hearing Master Cheng's words, the other master's gazes were immediately attracted by the maidservant behind Master Ning, and then they looked at the beautiful and exquisite dessert placed in front of Master Ning. They had to admit that Master Cheng's words were correct. However, they weren't as thick-skinned as Master Cheng, who directly used snatching. Instead, they adopted a method of closely watching people. Their eyes were fixed on Master Ning to see if he would let them eat. In the end, the master of the Ning family felt great pressure from their gazes. He gently pushed the dessert forward and said generously, "Have a taste. My maidservant has learned everything from Shui." Not only that, Lu Qi was her master for a period of time. Thus, her skills are really amazing. Chapter 2239. Top-grade witness 2, really? When the other family heads heard this, they were all surprised, especially when they heard that Lu Qi had once been the master of that little maidservant. They were all envious. Only the Lu family head looked constipated and hesitated to speak. In the end, the patriarch of the Lu clan finally gathered his courage and asked, "How is Qi-er?" "Qi, oh, are you talking about Lu Qi?" Master Ning asked indifferently. "Yes." The patriarch of the Lu clan nodded. "Of course, he's good. He eats and drinks well every day, and he's so free. He's living a much better life than us. By the way, is he a member of the Lu family?" As a master of the Ning family spoke, he suddenly remembered that they had the same surname, Lu, so he guessed. He didn't expect to see the master of the Lu family nod. However, the old man's face was bitter, as if he had some unspeakable suffering. But he didn't say anything, and Master Ning had no interest in prying into other people's privacy. But he could more or less guess that it was nothing more than some melodramatic drama of being driven out of the house or misunderstood because of some matter. Thinking this way, the master of the Ning family changed the topic. "He made us wait for so long, and now that the Yao family's old thing is here, I have to get an explanation from him. Our time is also very precious. How can we let him waste it like this?" "That's right. We can't let him go." The head of the Chung clan's mouth was stuffed full as he agreed in a somewhat muffled voice. Looking at him eating one in his mouth and holding another in his hand, Lung Ruoxue really didn't know what to say. "Clan head Chung, where's your image? I'm sorry to have kept you waiting." At this moment, the voice of the head of the Yao family suddenly rang out in the living room. Following that, a man in green robes floated in. If you didn't take into account his unhealthy pale face, the image of the head of the Yao family was still pretty good. Lung Ruoxue could not help but think to herself, "I say, old man Yao, what's wrong with you? Why did he look so haggard? Could it be that you've been hanging around the flowers for too long, that you've been blown dry?" He glanced at Master Yao. Master Ning's words were aimed at angering people. As expected, the patriarch's face immediately flushed pink when he heard this, finally looking a little healthier than before. He replied in an unpleasant tone, "I'm not as excited as the master of the Ning family. I've been busy with the poisoning these days. I don't have time to think about all those messy things." In that case, if you're not busy with the poisoning, you'll have time to think about other things, right? The master of the Ning family deliberately misinterpreted his words and asked with a sincere face. "Of course not." The head of the Yao clan replied, suppressing his anger. Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but laugh when she saw how the head of the Yao family was trying his best to hide his emotions. Then she heard her godfather say, since you've been running around for the past few days because of the poisoning, I'm sure there's already some progress. Right? Don't forget about the antidote and compensation from our 4 families. This was a big deal. It's the most important. I can't forget. The head of the Yao family gritted his teeth. Hearing his seemingly affirmative answer, the heads of the Ning family and the other 3 families were exceptionally happy. Therefore, they didn't mind that the old man of the Yao family had deliberately ignored them. After all, he had to give the other party a chance to find a balance, right? Thanks, there are some clues, but we still need to investigate further. That's why I called you here to hear your opinions. After taking a few deep breaths, the head of the Yao family, who secretly told himself that he had to stay calm, continued. Then tell us quickly. We can give you some ideas. The master of the Ning family was very cooperative. According to the clues, we found this matter. Looking at Master Ning, Master Yao deliberately paused, as if he had something difficult to say. Seeing him like this, the master of the Ning family couldn't help but sneer. He said in a bad mood, "Old man Yao, if you have something to say, just say it. Why do you look like you're constipated?" Master Ning's words caused Master Yao's blood pressure to rise. He was so angry that he was about to explode. How could there be such a despicable person in this world? Didn't she know that he was brewing his emotions? Only then would he appear to be in a difficult position. Otherwise, others would think that he was framing Lung Ruoxue. Originally, their plan was to let the other 7 family heads catch the poisoner, but after thinking about it, he was afraid that the 7 families would not follow the script they had arranged, so he had to change some strategies just in case. But now, even though he had changed his strategy, he still felt that it was a pain in the ass because he had not revealed anything, and the Ning family head was not cooperating in all ways. Secretly glaring at the master of the Ning family, the master of the Yao family decided not to pay attention to this annoying guy, but continued the previous topic. "We've caught the person who poisoned you." Just as the Yao family's head said this, the Chung family's head jumped up in shock, his eyes widening in disbelief. "Really? Did that person confess?" "Patriarch Chung, please calm down and let me continue." Seeing the head of the Chung family, the head of the Yao family also felt a headache. None of these family heads were easy to deal with. "All right, then you can continue, but I'm an impatient person, so you'd better not beat around the bush and just say it. Who did this?" The head of the Chung clan reminded. "The person we captured was a waiter of the Yao clan. All of you should have heard of the Yao clan building, right? It's the Yao family building that's located at the foot of the mountain in the land of demons." The head of the Yao clan explained. "Of course I've heard of it. I've also heard that the Yao family building is your family's property. Is this really your Yao clan's doing?" The patriarch of the Chung clan immediately reacted and cried out in alarm. The other patriarchs were clearly also extremely shocked. Master Yin even gave Master Yao a look of praise and said, "It's the great fortune of the divine world for the Yao family to put righteousness before family." As soon as these words came out, all the patriarchs echoed one after another. Most of them were praising the Yao family's patriarch for his righteousness, which made the Yao family patriarch furious. Fuck, were these people really stupid, or were they just pretending? When did he say that the Yao clan tower was the Yao clan's? It's fine if they're from the Yao family. If the Yao family's building, which could lay golden eggs, belonged to the Yao family, he might even wake up laughing in his sleep. However, the truth was that the Yao family had no relationship with the Yao family at all. Furthermore, he did not believe that these old fogies did not know about this matter. If they knew the truth and still said that, they would be deliberately looking for trouble. The head of the Yao family thought to himself hatefully. Then, he took a few deep breaths before he said with a depressed expression, "Let me finish. That Yao clan building does not belong to our Yao clan. How is that possible? If the Yao clan building didn't belong to the Yao clan, then who else could it belong to? Don't you guys agree?" The head of the Chung clan widened his eyes in disbelief, as if he had just heard a fantasy story. Chapter 2240, Top Grade Witness 3. On the surface, the owner of the Yao clan house is Uncle Long, the one from the Endless Ocean. However, in reality, Uncle Long is just paving the way for someone else. The real owner of the Yao clan house is Lung Rua Shue. The head of the Yao family was afraid that he would be interrupted again, so he finished his sentence in one breath. Old man Ning, the Yao clan building belongs to that girl Shue. Hearing this, the head of the Chung clan deliberately asked with a confused look. At this moment, the innocent expression on his face was as if he had just heard the news. It was as real as it could be. No. As soon as the Ning family's master denied it, the Chung family's master revealed an expression that said, "I knew it was impossible." Instantly, the Yao family's master was driven mad. Following that, all the patriarchs heard the Yao family's patriarch roar. The Yao clan building is clearly Lung Ruashu's. How can you not admit it? Yao family head, the Yao family building really doesn't belong to Shue. It's owned by Uncle Long, and I heard that the first elder of the Yao family once worked at the Yao family building. May I ask if you have some shares in the Yao family building? The Ning family's master asked with a gossipy look. His words also made the Yao family's master so angry that he didn't say a word for a long time. Seeing the Yao family head fall silent, the other patriarchs understood. Some even thought to themselves that the Yao family tower really did have a deep relationship with the Yao family. Of course, the head of the Yao family wasn't aware of the thoughts in everyone's minds. Otherwise, he would be even more depressed. As for the thoughts of the people present, Lung Ruashue was very clear about it. Naturally, she was already laughing in her heart. Furthermore, she was very happy to see the head of the Yao family suffer a loss. It was just that she didn't know if everything that the head of the Yao family had arranged would go smoothly as they had expected. From the looks of it, Lung Ruashue didn't think much of them. It was because these family heads were too uncooperative. Among them, the head of the Chung family was the most powerful. Lung Ruashue was well aware of why the Chung clan's head was acting this way. She would remember this favor. The head of the Yao family was so angry that he couldn't say anything. Seeing this, the other heads of the family also stopped and temporarily rested. For a time, in a large living room, only the sound of certain head eating could be heard. After a long time, it was still the master of the Ning family who was kind enough to take the initiative to ask, "Patriarch Yao, you said that the person who poisoned you was a servant of the Yao clan. What was that about? Have you already interrogated him?" Actually, it wasn't that he was kind, but he felt that if he didn't let the Yao family head continue directing and acting, everything Shue had arranged wouldn't be able to play out as scheduled. He was still waiting to watch a good show. Therefore, he could only let this old man from the Yao family take advantage of him. Hearing Master Ning's words, Master Chung, who was struggling with the snacks in front of him, perked up his ears at the same time and looked expectantly at Master Yao. The other masters also had similar expressions. Seeing this, the head of the Yao family sighed and said, "I haven't interrogated him yet. However, what I want to say is that the Yao family building really has nothing to do with our Yao family, and we don't have any shares there. The Yao family building belongs to Uncle Long, and it has a very close relationship with Lung Ruashue. I also don't think that the Yao clan tower has any relationship with your Yao clan. Your Yao clan has never had such a successful business before." As soon as the Yao family's head finished speaking, the Chung family's head couldn't wait to express his opinion. As soon as he finished speaking, the Yao family's head, who had slightly suppressed his anger, immediately felt his anger surge up to the top of his head, especially when he saw that some of the family heads were echoing the Chung family head's words. The anger in his heart burned even more fiercely. However, he quickly forced himself to calm down. He kept consoling himself that he shouldn't be calculative with a barbarian, as it would lower his own class. Yes, in his heart, the head of the Chung family was an uncultured barbarian. After calming down a little, the head of the Yao family said again, "In order to avoid suspicion, I would like to invite all the patriarchs here to interrogate that attendant of the Yao clan." This time, he directly stated his purpose to prevent these people from talking nonsense. He would let them find out the truth from the waiter's mouth. This was what the head of the Yao clan thought. Didn't the Yao family head just say that the Yao family and Shue have a close relationship? Do you need me to leave? After hearing Master Yao's words, Master Ning asked hesitantly. "Oh, right. Old Man Ning, since the old man of the Yao family said that the Yao family building is related to little girl Shui, I think it's better for you to avoid it. Otherwise, if something happens, you won't be able to clear your name even if you jump into the endless sea." The patriarch of the Chung clan hurriedly said, "No need to avoid it. I believe in Master Ning's fairness." When the head of the Yao family heard this, he hurriedly stopped him. What a joke. If that old thing of the Ning family left, how could he continue with the show? He wanted everyone to see how the master of the Ning family would shield Lung Ruoxue, the rat on the street that everyone hated. "Thanks, what if I don't believe you?" The Chung clan's patriarch innocently said something that could make the Yao clan's patriarch vomit blood. The other clan patriarchs looked at each other in dismay. In the face of this matter, it seemed that they should remain silent. You guys don't believe it either? Could it be that Master Ning's credibility is that bad? The head of the Yao clan ignored the innocent look on the head of the Chung clan's face. He narrowed his eyes and looked at the others present. This has nothing to do with credibility. It's human nature to protect one's shortcomings. I'm also thinking for you. If Master Ning participates in the interrogation and you say something else, it will affect the relationship between the 8 great divine regions. That's why I think Master Ning should avoid it. The head of the Chung clan said with a face full of righteousness. These words of consideration for the other party caused a small flame to burst out from the heart of the Yao clan head. I said Master Ning doesn't need to avoid it. I hope he can be a witness. After all, I don't want our relationship to be affected because of this. What do you think, Master Ning? The angry master, Yao, kicked the ball back to Master Ning. The master of the Ning family nodded and said, "If all the patriarchs have no objections, then I naturally don't need to avoid it. If that's the case, then I have no objections." The master of the Chung family laughed, and then secretly winked at the master of the Ning family. The other family heads naturally had no objections to this. After all, this matter was led by the Yao family, and they followed the host's orders. After that, Master Yao, who felt that his wish had come true, was as if he had been injected with chicken blood and brought Master Ning and the others to the prison. The Yao family's prison cell was as magnificent as the Yao family's main residence. Although the few family heads had known the Yao family head for many years, this was the first time they had visited the Yao family's prison. Therefore, for a moment, they were dazzled by the magnificence of the Yao family's prison. Fuck, the Yao family was really rich. Even the prison cells are so well built. A few family heads who hated the rich secretly hated him. However, their faces were filled with envy, and they even began to flatter the head of the Yao family, making him so proud that he almost forgot the purpose of this trip. Fortunately, the head of the Yao family had not completely lost his mind. After a short wandering, he brought the other family heads to one of the prison cells. A young man in a waiter's uniform was locked in the cell. When the young man saw the head of the Yao family, he immediately glared at him and roared, "Yao family dog, you'd better let me go, or you'll regret it. Yo, this little fellow is quite bold. You actually dared to threaten our Yao family's patriarch." Upon hearing this, the head of the Chung family laughed happily and couldn't help but tease. Then, as if he had discovered a new continent, he said in surprise, "This guy's clothes really have the 3 words Yao clan on them. It seems like he really is from the Yao clan." Hearing this, the head of the Yao family was secretly pleased with himself, but he was smart enough not to express any opinions, allowing the other patriarchs to think as they pleased. After hearing the Chung clan head's words, the imposing-looking waiter glanced at the silent Yao clan head and, as if he had found his backbone, roared again, "That's right, I'm from the Yao clan. So if you're smart, you better let me go. Otherwise, when my young lady comes, you'll have a hard time. Is your family's young miss very powerful? Who is she?" The waiter's words caused the Chung clan's patriarch to feel curious, and he shamelessly asked, "Of course it's powerful. My lady is Lung Ruoxue," the waiter said proudly. Hearing this, the head of the Chung family couldn't help but laugh wildly. His laughter was so exaggerated that he almost rolled on the ground. His laughter also made the other person laugh for no reason. Until now, they still didn't understand what the head of the Chung clan was laughing about. Even the waiter who had spoken arrogantly was dumbfounded. After a long while, the master of the Chung family, who had laughed enough, said, "Yao family head, I don't think there's a need to interrogate this person. Look, we haven't even asked anything yet. He had confessed everything himself. AI, how could you have the nerve to ask us to interrogate a guy with such intelligence? Are you testing our intelligence?" The Chung clan's patriarch didn't need to make his words too clear because no one present was an idiot. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to become the patriarch of one of the 8 great divine domains. However, when the Yao clan's patriarch heard these words, he immediately felt his face burn. To be honest, he didn't expect that the first elder and 9th elder would find such an outrageous person. He had never seen this person before, so he naturally didn't know what this person was like. Otherwise, he would never have let this person have the chance to appear in front of the family heads. It was really too embarrassing, wasn't it? Chapter 2241. The Vengeful Snake. 1. Looking at the dumbfounded witness who was still clueless, the head of the Yao family's heart was in turmoil, and he couldn't calm down no matter what. Furthermore, the more he thought about it, the angrier he became. Faintly, he tried his best to hide the anger on his face. When the imprisoned waiter saw this, although he was a little frightened, he still acted according to the script and stubbornly said, "Yao family, you'd better let me go. Otherwise, you'll regret it." Hearing this, the Yao family head's face darkened even more, while the Chung family head laughed very happily and kindly reminded, "Little brat, you've already said that. Don't you have any other lines? Quickly change to another one. Let's hear something new. Fresh." When the waiter heard this, he really started to think about it seriously. He deeply felt that this was a hint from the other party to make him more dramatic. As such, he must not disappoint the other party. After thinking about it for a long time, the waiter finally came to a realization. "Your Yao family will quickly release me. Oh, and you must also compensate our young miss. They'll just ask for 10 top-grade crystals." 10 top-grade crystals? Are you sure? The head of the Chung family raised his eyebrows and asked, "Of course. What? The great Yao family can't even take out 10 top-grade crystals." As the waiter said this, he secretly glanced at the Yao family head's expression. Seeing that his expression had become even uglier, he thought that he had asked for too much, so he quickly changed his words. "If 10 top-grade crystals are too much for you, 8 is fine too. Are you sure?" The head of the Chung clan asked again. "How about 6? The waiter couldn't tell what the person's intention was, but he took the initiative to reduce the number of crystals. Seeing this, the head of the Chung family continued to ask, "Are you sure? Can you only give me 4? The Yao family can't be that poor, right?" The waiter's expression was also unsightly. The deep suspicion on his face was enough to stab the Yao family head's heart. However, before the head of the Yao family could say anything, the head of the Chung family spoke first again, and the head of the Chung family still said the same thing. "Are you sure? 2 pieces. I can't go any lower." The waiter made up his mind, as if he had made a very difficult decision. "I don't have to." The head of the Chung family had finally shown some kindness and knew how to save money for the Yao family. Although the head of the Yao family was anxious, he realized that he couldn't interject at all. At this moment, it seemed like he could only pretend to be deaf and dumb. Otherwise, the Yao family's face would be completely lost. There should be at least 1 piece, right? The waiter said disappointedly. He didn't doubt the patriarch's words at all, because he could tell that the patriarch was absolutely serious. "Also not." The head of the Chung clan laughed. "Then what can I get? I can't go back empty-handed, or my family's young miss will blame me." The waiter said pitifully, but in his heart, tears were streaming down his face. "Sob, why was it so difficult to rob? Don't worry. Even if you return empty-handed, your family's young miss won't blame you. Trust me." The head of the Chung clan consoled her with a smirk. "You're not my family's young miss. How do you know she won't blame me? I'm telling you, my family's young miss has already said, no matter where we go, we can't return empty-handed. This is our thief's rule. So, you have to give me something to bring back. Otherwise, they'll stay here and not leave. The waiter said shamelessly, "You're a thief." The head of the Chung family found 2 key words from the waiter's words. "Of course. So, is my young lady." The waiter was shocked that he seemed to have exposed himself and quickly added, "Thanks, your family's young lady, Lung Ruoxue. She's also a thief?" The head of the Chung clan asked curiously, the word gossip written all over his handsome face. "That's right. Our whole family is a thief," the waiter said proudly. "By the way, do you know that your lady has a godfather?" The head of the Chung family thought for a moment and asked very kindly, "Of course I know that. I'm the closest person to Miss. I even know how many moles she has on her body. How could I not know that Miss is a godfather?" The waiter said to the head of the Chung clan with confidence, as if he had heard a joke, "You even know about the mole on Lung Ruoxue's body. I didn't expect you to be so close to her." The head of the Chung clan said in surprise, "I must. I'm even the person who sleeps beside our young miss. How could I not know what she's up to?" The waiter's bragging became more and more ridiculous, and the Chung family's head couldn't help but worry for his little life. Did this guy expect to be alive after leaving the Yao family? He could already see old man Ning's face turn black. No, perhaps he wouldn't even be able to leave the Yao family. It was impossible for that vicious old thing of a Yao family to let this foolish fellow off. Let's talk about the matter of your young lattice godfather. The head of the Chung clan wanted to accumulate some good karma for himself, so he took the initiative to change the topic to Lung Ruoxue's godfather. However, the waiter didn't appreciate it all. Instead, he said with a slight displeasure, "What's there to talk about with an old man? It's better to talk about my young lady." "Fine, since you're looking for death, you can't blame anyone else." Hearing this, the head of the Chung family was helpless. He nodded and said, "Then go ahead and talk." After that, the clan heads helplessly listened to the imprisoned waiter talk about his love affairs with their young miss. In the end, the waiter's words became more and more outrageous. Anyone with a bit of intelligence would be able to tell that he was talking nonsense. Thus, one sharp gaze after another swept over the waiter, but the waiter did not seem to notice and continued to talk with great energy. After a long time, the patriarchs couldn't bear to listen any longer and finally decided to leave the prison. Seeing that the audience was leaving, the waiter couldn't take it anymore and kept shouting, "Don't go. I still have a lot of details to tell you. You can leave after I'm done talking. You can keep it for yourself. We don't want to listen anymore." The head of the Chung family replied kindly, "Don't. I still have a lot of interesting things to tell you. Why don't I tell you a few dirty jokes? I only beg you not to leave me. Woo. There's no one here to talk to. I'm so lonely," the waiter said with a worried expression. Upon hearing this, the patriarchs walked even faster. When they returned to the living room, all the patriarchs' expressions were not too good. For a long time, no one spoke. After a moment of silence, the head of the Chung family couldn't help but say, "Oh no, I forgot to ask if Lung Ruoxue sent him here to poison the food." As soon as he said that, he received a few eye rolls. "I say, old Chung, that guy must be hallucinating. Would Lung Ruoxue, that lass, have such a low class and unruly subordinate? Moreover, as far as I know, that girl doesn't lack money. Just the Yao family head has compensated her with a lot of money for certain matters. Am I right?" The Yao family head? Bean family head asked calmly. He was definitely rubbing salt in the Yao family head's wound. Chapter 2242. The Vengeful Snake 2. After hearing Master Yin's words, Master Yao's face turned even darker. Master Yin was right. Lung Ruoxue had indeed extorted a lot of money from him. Now that he thought about it, his heart ached. Seeing that Master Yao didn't say anything, Master Yin continued to ask, "Yao family head, you said that the person you caught was from the Yao family, but judging from his tone, he's obviously not. Furthermore, he admitted that he's a thief, but that last Lung Ruoxue isn't. So, how do you think this matter should be resolved?" "I think it's a misunderstanding." Taking a deep breath, the head of the Yao family said with a dark face, Yao family head is saying that this is a misunderstanding? Then what's with the clothes he was wearing? The 3 words, Yao clan building, were on it. We all saw it with our own eyes. The head of the Chung clan raised his own doubts and put on a humble look to ask for advice. He must have stolen it. The head of the Yao family said in frustration. He had really lost all faith today. He had lived for so many years, but he had never encountered such an embarrassing thing. Moreover, it was in front of the other 7 families, so he couldn't even kill them directly. The more he thought about it, the more aggrieved he felt. If that's the case, then the person who poisoned your Yao family has nothing to do with Shui. Yao family head, I didn't misunderstand, right? At this time, seeing that the time was right, the master of the Ning family also spoke. Yes, I am. The head of the Yao family said through gritted teeth. He began to seriously doubt the ability of the 1st and 9th elders, who had failed in their tasks. It was all these 2 guys' fault for not doing their job well, and causing them to miss such a great opportunity. Furthermore, this kind of thing could only happen once. If he were to catch someone again and say that they were from the Yao clan tower and were related to Lung Ruoxue, these people would not believe him, and neither would he. Therefore, they missed the best opportunity, and, at the same time, it also made the old man of the Ning family raise his vigilance. The head of the Yao family cursed in his heart. However, now that things had come to this, he could only accept this result gloomily. Although he had not been able to harm Lung Ruoxue this time, he would definitely not let that detestable fellow have the chance to escape the next time he had such an opportunity. AI. He didn't expect the truth to be revealed so easily. It was really good. However, he was the Yao family head. You shouldn't associate this matter with that girl the moment you hear about the Yao clan building. This is not good. You have to know that it's not difficult to frame someone these days. Seeing that the matter had been resolved and the misunderstanding cleared up, the Chung clan's patriarch became the peacemaker. However, his words would not make the Yao clan's patriarch happy. The head of the Yao family gritted his teeth and said, I didn't say for sure that our Yao family's poison was done by Lung Ruoxue. It's just that the person we caught was a servant from the Yao clan. Furthermore, the Yao clan has a close relationship with Lung Ruoxue. Hence, we temporarily listed her as a suspect. Now, the facts have proven that that person's mental state is clearly abnormal. That's right. But I'm curious, where did you catch this person? The head of the Chung clan couldn't help asking. I heard from the Grand Elder that it was in the garden. The head of the Yao clan said after some thought. In the garden? Do you have a well in the garden? Upon hearing this, the head of the Chung family widened his eyes and blinked a few times before asking. No, I don't know the specific details, but I heard from the Great Elder that they caught a suspicious person, so I wanted to interrogate him with you, but I didn't expect it to be such a person. AI. The head of the Yao family explained gloomily. Then, he looked at the head of the Ning family with some guilt and said, Master Ning, I'm really sorry. It's all my fault for not investigating properly in advance. I only heard that the person claimed to be from the Yao clan and was wearing the Yao clan's uniform. So I mistakenly thought that this matter was related to Lung Ruoxue. Hee. It's okay. I can understand your thoughts. After all, you have a guilty conscience. Naturally, they would be on edge. The master of the Ning family said very impolitely. Then, he stood up and said, Since the poisoning incident is still a mystery, I think I'd better take my leave first. By the way, you'd better find the real culprit as soon as possible. Our Ning family is still waiting for the antidote to save our lives. Thanks with that, the master of the Ning family left the Yao family without looking back. Old man Ning, wait for me. Seeing this, the patriarch of the Chung family hurriedly chased after him. The other family heads also chose to leave one after another. They had come in vain today. However, it was still worth it to see the head of the Yao family suffer. With this thought in mind, the few family heads who had made a wasted trip no longer felt depressed. However, even though they had adjusted their mentality, the head of the Yao family still couldn't vent his anger. After the master of the Ning family and the others left, he immediately called the 1st elder and the 9th elder to the study. Then, he scolded them in their faces. After that, he ordered them to take out the idiot who had ruined his business from his cell. The first elder and the ninth elder knew that the master wanted to silence them. The two of them immediately went to handle this matter, but when they arrived at the prison cell, they discovered that the man had disappeared. After reporting the situation to their family head, the two of them were scolded again. In the end, the two elders, who had been scolded until their heads were drenched in dog blood, left the study room of the Yao family head with their tails between their legs. Of course, the order they had received was to find that person's whereabouts and not let him fall into the hands of the Ning family master. The head of the Yao family was afraid that the person had been taken away by the head of the Ning family. However, he couldn't convince himself that Master Ning's strength was high enough to take a living person away from him without anyone knowing. If that was the case, he would be depressed to death. In fact, the head of the Yao family was thinking too much because that person really wasn't taken away by the head of the Ning family. It was Song He who took that guy away. Song and the demon worked together and brought that person to the edge of the cliff that was closest to the Yao family's divine territory. Help, help! The waiter, who was hanging on the edge of the cliff with his legs hanging in the air, said with a trembling face. At this time, his face was extremely pale, and he didn't dare to move his head because he was afraid that he would accidentally fall down. It was a bottomless abyss below. Whoa, you want to live? What's the matter? Azure raised a furry paw, revealing its sharp hook, and asked indifferently. Yes, yes. The waiter was so scared that he could already feel the warm wetness between his legs. Woo, whose cat is this? How could he be so bad? If you want to live, you have to be obedient and perform well. Otherwise, today will be your death anniversary next year. No, you won't even have Memorial Day, because anyone related to you will also die. Therefore, no one will pay their respects to you. Azure said with a smile. Don't kill me. Woo, I haven't lived long enough. The waiter pleaded in fear. He was really afraid of death. Chapter 2243. The Vengeful Snake. 3. Since you haven't lived long enough, then tell me everything you know. You're courting death. The demon at the side said coldly. The coldness he emitted made the waiter's teeth chatter. Speak, I say. They'll tell you everything. In order to survive, the waiter was extremely cooperative. After that, he began to narrate everything that he had experienced in detail, starting from when he was young until now. Just as he started, the cold chi on the demon's body formed a solid ice blade and shot towards the waiter, causing the waiter to cry in fear. Woo, I've already started explaining. Why are you still scaring me like this? The waiter asked pitifully. Who asked you to say that? What we want you to say is the deal between you and the Yao family. Azure said coldly. The Yao family. The Yao family made me wear the clothes they gave me. Then, they made me claim that I was from the Yao family. They even made me say that Lung Ruoxue was my family's young miss, and that it was Lung Ruoxue who made me poison the Yao family. However, I haven't had the time to tell anyone about the poisoning. The waiter was very straightforward this time, explaining the matter clearly in a few words. However, the demon was not satisfied. You said in a prison cell that you even knew how many moles Lung Ruoxue had. The demon squinted his eyes and asked indifferently. That's what I made up. I don't even know Lung Ruoxue, so how could I know so much about her? The waiter told him the truth, not daring to hide anything. Nonsense? You're really bold. The demon was furious. The consequences were severe. Then, countless black blades of light attacked the servant. In the blink of an eye, the servant's clothes were torn into pieces, and his body was covered in bloody wounds. Arg, help me. Please don't kill me. The speed of the lightsaber was too fast, so by the time the server felt the pain, the evildoer had already completed his series of actions. Looking at the server's pitiful shriek, the evildoer could not help but smile coldly. Coward! He dared to insult his shui. How could he let this guy go? Oomph. When this waiter completed the task he and Song had given him, he would personally send him to the 9 Nether prison to enjoy himself. Otherwise, it would be hard to dispel the hatred in his heart. Then, Evildoer and Azure gave the waiter some instructions and lifted him up from the cliff. After doing all this, Evildoer and Azure left quietly, just like when they came. Some of the waiters were dumbfounded, and it took a long time for them to recover. Looking at the black phoenix on his chest, the waiter knew that if he didn't do as the man and cat said, he would die a terrible death. Sob. Thinking of this terrible fact, the waiter burst into tears. He knew that he had almost died just now. However, the other party still had a mission for him, so he had let him live. With this knowledge, the waiter forced himself to be alert. After putting on his clothes, he walked in the direction where there were many people. Evildoer and Tsang returned to the inn with their usual expressions. The man and beast had a tacit understanding not to mention this matter. However, Lung Ruoxue and the rest were not stupid. How could they not guess what they had gone out to do? Especially the next day, a shocking truth began to spread widely in the Yao family's divine territory. That was, the Yao clan had actually hired someone to impersonate someone from the Yao clan tower, with the intention of pushing the blame of the Yao clan being poisoned by their enemy onto Lung Ruoxue, so that Lung Ruoxue would be the scapegoat. Furthermore, the more the rumors spread, the more absurd it became. For some reason, some people even said that someone from the Yao family had wanted to frame Lung Ruoxue because his love had turned into hatred. Needless to say, this person was automatically linked to the Yao family head. In just a few hours, the news of the Yao family framing Lung Ruoxue for poisoning her spread uncontrollably throughout the entire firmament at the speed of light. The speed at which the news spread was even faster than the news of the Yao family becoming the source of the poison. When the Yao family learned of this situation, it was too late to control it. This situation made the head of the Yao family so angry that he almost vomited blood. For the next few days, he would call first Elder and the others to his study room and give them a good scolding. However, he felt that he couldn't vent the anger in his heart just by scolding. Therefore, his temper was getting more and more violent by the day. In the end, most of the elders who couldn't bear it anymore simply found a good excuse not to return to the main residence. Thanks, the master of the Ning family and the others in the inn couldn't stop smiling after hearing the news. After that, everyone discussed and decided to go to the Yao family together to make the head of the Yao family feel uncomfortable. Just like that, the 7 family heads came uninvited. The 9th elder of the Yao family, the only one who didn't dare to leave his post, received the 7 family heads. In the living room, the 9th elder of the Yao family, who was sitting with them, looked at the 7 family heads who were sitting in their chairs and staring at him without a care in the world. He suddenly felt a mountain of pressure. He didn't need a guess to know that these family heads were here to find trouble. It was just that he did not expect that these people would actually be so united. Logically speaking, they shouldn't be like this, right? Therefore, he could not understand. In fact, the current 6 masters were all following Master Ning's lead, so naturally, they would cooperate with Master Ning. As for the head of the Yao family, the impression he gave these 7 family heads was that he was selfish, self-serving, sinister, and petty. So, although they were invited by the head of the Yao family, they really didn't dare to compliment the character of the head of the Yao family. So, of course, they were not willing to take the initiative to give themselves up to the Yao family scheme. Therefore, when comparing the two, they wisely chose Master Ning. From this, it could be seen how much of a failure the head of the Yao family was. 9th Elder, has your patriarch gone to investigate the poisoning incident again? After a long time, the master of the Ning family asked lightly. That's right. Elder Yao Jiao was very embarrassed, but he could only bite the bullet and reply. In reality, the family head didn't really want to see them at this time, which was why he was reluctant to appear. What did you check? Did you find anything? Actually, if you really can't find anything, it's fine. We can still wait, but we can't throw dirty water on my shui. The Ning family head's tone was very calm, and it was almost impossible to hear the displeasure in his words. But for some reason, Elder Yao Jiao knew that this old man had come to question him. Furthermore, he had even gotten himself 6 helpers. Master Ning, in fact, those are just rumors, and you can't believe all rumors. How could our Yao family do such a thing? It's all a misunderstanding. In the face of the Ning family head's questioning, Elder Yao Jiao could only try to smooth things over. Elder Yao Jiao, you don't have to keep using rumors as an excuse. I know what kind of thoughts your Yao family has for Shui, he. Didn't you invite our 7 families here to discuss Shui, Er's matter? We all know what's going on, so there's no need to hide it. Hurry up and ask your patriarch to come out. We can use this opportunity to discuss it. After hearing Elder Yao Jiao's words, the head of the Ning family smiled faintly and requested. This Elder Yao Jiao was in a difficult position. He couldn't order the family head to do anything. The family head was so willful that he didn't want to see them. He couldn't force the family head to come. Just as Elder Yao Jiao was feeling conflicted, an explosion suddenly rang out. When the people in the living room heard the explosion, they hurriedly ran outside, causing Elder Yao Jiao to be unable to stop them in time. Helplessly, he could only run out. As soon as they went out, the master of the Ning family and the others saw countless snake-type beasts gathered in the air outside. Although the snakes were of different sizes, at this time, their eyes were full of anger and stared at the Yao family with a pair of cold eyes. Seeing this, even hierarch-level deities felt their scalps go numb. The snakes all stuck out their long tongues and looked at the Yao family as if they were their enemies. 9th Elder, your Yao family has indeed raised many snakes. The head of the Chung clan was stunned for a moment before he spoke. They're not raised by my family. Elder Yao Jiu smiled bitterly. What kind of eyes did the Chung family head have? Didn't they see that the snakes were treating them as enemies? That's also related to your Yao family. It's snake venom. The snake poison in the Chung family must be their doing. The head of the Chung clan said with absolute certainty. That's right. Elder Yao Jiao, hurry up and make them hand over the poisonous snake. Our 4 families are still waiting to save our lives. The master of the Yin family said anxiously. These snakes don't belong to our Yao family. The depressed Elder Yao Jiao gritted his teeth and explained. He did not think that these snakes would obediently listen to him if he asked them to hand over the snake that had poisoned them. If that was the case, they would definitely not look at him and the others with hatred. These snakes were clearly here for revenge. The head of the Chung family was a little angry when he saw the helpless expression on the 9th Elder's face. Then he pointed at the largest snake among the snakes and asked, "What are you doing in the Yao family? Were you the ones who poisoned the Yao family?" Ha ha ha. Of course we're here for revenge. As for the Yao family's poison, that's just a small lesson for them. Today's the main event. The huge snake grinned and sneered. Did you really do it? The Chung family head blinked and said, if you have a grudge against the Yao family, you should have just targeted the Yao family. Why did you poison our 4 families as well? We didn't provoke you, so every injustice has its perpetrator. Every debt has its debtor. You can go to whoever provoked you. You can't implicate the innocent, understand? We didn't plan to attack you. You can only blame your bad luck for coming here, just as we were about to take revenge on the Yao family. The huge snake said innocently. Chapter 2244. Are you the silly one, or am I the silly one? When the patriarch of the Chang clan heard this, he smiled happily and said with a kind expression, if that's the case, then let's make a deal. You give us some snake poison and let us cure our own people. As for the grudge between you and the Yao family, we won't interfere. How about it? Upon hearing this, the snake leader began to think very seriously. As for the 9th elder of the Yao family, he was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He couldn't help but curse in his heart. Was there such a hateful guy? He originally thought that these few families would not stand by and do nothing on the account that everyone was one of the 8 great divine regions. But who knew that they had no intention of interfering in this matter at all? This was really disloyal. Elder Yao Jiao was furious, but he didn't dare to vent his anger on the Chung family head. As for those giant snakes, he was also a little afraid. It wasn't that he wasn't as strong as these snakes, but that there were too many of them, and many of them were poisonous. Even if he was stronger than them, he couldn't withstand them. The clan head, please come back quickly. I can't hold on anymore. Elder Yao Jiao couldn't help but wail in his heart. In fact, when his family's head, who had suddenly become willful, knew that the other 7 family heads had come to visit, he had already sneaked out to find an excuse to avoid meeting them. It was only when he sent a voice transmission to the family head that he found out that the family head was so angry that he almost ran to the endless ocean. The other elders were also afraid that the family head would suddenly lose his temper, so they had already hidden out early. Therefore, at this time, it seemed that only he could carry the main pillar of the Yao family. That's right, there were also a few other family heads who obviously wanted to watch a good show, and Seheo didn't intend to help. When he thought of this, he was so angry that his whole body trembled. However, these families could not fall out with each other yet, so he could only swallow his anger and hope that he could hold on until the master returned. At this time, the big snake seemed to have almost finished thinking. It shook its big head and looked at the several family masters present and confirmed, "You really won't care about this?" It was still a little worried. Although their new king had always said that they and the other snakes only needed to find trouble and not worry about anything, they had never been so proud before. They couldn't believe that the Yao family would obediently let them do whatever they wanted. This was too unrealistic for them, and it was too ridiculous. "As long as you give us the snake venom, we promise not to interfere in this matter. Don't you agree?" Although the patriarch of the Chung clan was speaking to the giant snake, his words were definitely meant for all the patriarchs present to hear. Among the patriarchs, the 4 poisoned patriarchs naturally had no doubts about this. Thus, these words were actually meant for the other 3 to express their opinions. Sensing the Chung clan heads' covetous gaze, the other 3 clan heads immediately felt a mountain of pressure. However, the heads of the Fan, Yu, and Qi families were not stupid. The current situation was clear at a glance. Comparing the weak, pitiful, and eager 9th elder of the Yao family to the other 4 families, even a fool would know which one to choose. Furthermore, none of them were fools. Therefore, without even thinking, the family heads immediately expressed their attitude that they would not interfere in this matter. In their own words, they were here as guests. Seeing them clearly express their stance, Elder Yao Jiao's face instantly turned ashen, and his heart was filled with hatred. However, even though he was dissatisfied, he did not dare to offend all 7 families at once. Therefore, he could only endure it. The leader of the snakes saw that the strongest among them had already expressed his position and immediately began to circle in the air. The other snakes were also very excited and would let out a few loud roars from time to time to show their excitement. He could finally get his revenge after so many years. This was something to be happy about. Thanks, the snakes' feelings were simply indescribable. But when Elder Yao Jiao saw how happy they were, it was as if there was a bitter gallbladder in his mouth. He was as depressed as he could be. "Fuck, you're snakes, not a beast. It wasn't a dragon. What are you howling for?" Hearing the ear-piercing howls, Elder Yao Jiao could not help but curse in his heart. However, he was clear that he could not offend the other 7 family heads, nor could he provoke these snakes. Otherwise, with the number of snakes, if they really wanted to do something, how could he resist them? Such an aggrieved thought made Elder Yao Jiao extremely depressed. However, this was the reality, the red and bloody reality. He had no other choice but to accept, especially when he saw that the Yao family members either turned pale with fear and trembled like leaves in the wind, or went into hiding when they saw the giant snakes. This fact made his heart feel even more stifled. Why were the Yao family all cowardly? For the first time, he began to doubt the Yao family's upbringing. Had these people been living in peace for too long? So much so that they had lost their courage? Elder Yao Jiao was somewhat resentful that he had failed to live up to his expectations. He secretly made up his mind that once this matter was over, he would definitely persuade the family head to let his clansmen out for a good experience. No one was allowed to return until they reached a certain requirement. Of course, Elder Yao Jiao's wish was good. As for whether or not it would be achieved, it was unknown, because the Yao family was originally a big pot of rice. After all this time, the Yao family had long gotten used to it. If they were allowed to go out and find their own way out, it would be good if they didn't starve to death. Fortunately, it was not easy for a god to starve to death. In just a short moment, Elder Yao Jio's mind had already turned 1,000 times and was almost rotten from his thoughts. However, he still had to clean up the mess in front of him. When they came back to their senses, they saw the snakes still dancing excitedly. No one will be in a good mood, especially when the snake's target was his family. His mood was even more obvious. After thinking for a moment, Elder Yao Jiu forced a smile on his face and said gently, "Hello, I would like to ask, what kind of deep hatred does our Yao family have with you that caused you all to—" He really wanted to say that it caused you all to gather here for revenge, but he did not dare to say such an intense word easily. You still have a nerve to ask. Don't you know what your Yao clan has done?" When the snake leader heard Elder Yao Jio's words, he said in an unpleasant tone, I really don't know." Elder Yao Jio said with a sincere expression, "You really don't know?" The snake leader clearly didn't believe him. Seeing it like this, Elder Yao Jio could only nod with a bitter smile. Even if he did know, he would have to pretend that he didn't know. Otherwise, how could they delay the time and wait for the family head to rush back? Since you don't know, they'll be merciful and tell you. The snake leader said as if he was doing charity. And although Elder Yao Jio didn't like the tone of the python's voice, he still decided to listen to it with a good temper. At the very least, he had to find out the truth. Otherwise, wouldn't they be confused? Chapter 2245. Are you the silly one, or am I the silly one? 2. However, after waiting for a long time, the giant snake only looked at him and did not speak. Instantly, Elder Yao Jio became a little anxious. "I say, when are you going to tell me the truth?" Elder Yao Jio urged. "What's the hurry? I have to think of the right words." The snake leader glared at him and spoke with a slight dissatisfaction. Hearing this, Elder Yao Jio wanted to vomit blood again. Fuck, this snake wasn't playing with him, was it? He actually had to choose his words. What the hell was this? Although he was very dissatisfied with the python's attitude, he was smart enough to endure it. After a long time, just as everyone was getting impatient, the snake finally spoke again. "It's like this. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, one of my clan's ancestors was once killed by your Yao family's patriarch. Of course, at that time, the head of the Yao family was just a little kid in open crotch pants. Our old ancestor is also very young. However, it had died a terrible death. And this is all the good work of your Yao family's head." The snake leader's face was filled with hatred because this matter had affected them greatly. "You must know that ancestor of ours was the one with the best aptitude in our blue snake clan. If he had not fallen early, our blue snake clan would at least have a place among the divine realm's beast clans. But because your family head took a fancy to it, the old ancestor refused to acknowledge him as his master. So he was brutally killed by your family head. Don't you guys deserve to die? Shouldn't your Yao family be buried with our ancestor?" The serpent continued, the hatred on its face growing deeper as it spoke. In fact, the matter of the ancestor was only what the elders in the clan wanted to spread. The snake didn't have a deep impression of it and had never thought of avenging the ancestor. After all, the strength of their clan and the Yao family was far inferior. But now, it was very happy to have such an opportunity to take revenge. From now on, their Azure Snake Clan status among the Snake Clan in the Divine Realm would definitely not be the lowest. At the thought of this, the Snake Leader felt a little excited. It had to be said that the Snake Leader's requirements were very low. As long as he was not at the bottom of the snake race, he would be satisfied. However, it would soon know how lucky the Azure Snake Clan was. Elder Yao Jio held back the urge to vomit blood. He barely managed to finish listening to the complaint of the leading snake, and the feeling of wanting to vomit blood grew even stronger. Fuck! After living for so long, he had never heard of a beastie who would come back for revenge years later because of such a thing. This enmity, wasn't it too long ago? Furthermore, What Elder Yao Jiao couldn't understand was why these snakes would seek revenge. Was it because of their numbers? Of course, it was not easy for him to face these snakes alone. However, for the master, these snakes were a piece of cake. Therefore, he could not guess what these snakes were relying on, so he had to deal with them carefully. Furthermore, it was because the Yao family was too useless. This fact also made him feel quite helpless. In fact, Elder Yao Jiao wasn't the only one who was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood after hearing the python's words. The other family heads didn't know what kind of opinion they should express either. This matter was simply too fantasizing. It had been hundreds of thousands of years. Thanks, although it was never too late for a gentleman to take revenge 10 years later, it was not easy for these snakes to still remember this grudge so deeply after hundreds of thousands of years. After all, this enmity could not be any smaller given their status and position. This could not even be considered grudge. This was because such incidents were not rare in the divine realm. In the immortal realm, the strong were always respected. Unless it was a human or a beast that no one dared to provoke, there were very few other races who would seek revenge if such a thing happened. Of course, it wasn't that he couldn't take revenge, but he had to at least do what he could before he took revenge. Otherwise, not only would he fail to take revenge, but he would also cause his clan to be exterminated. That would not be worth it. Although the few family heads present had different thoughts from Elder Yao Jiao and were mostly here to watch a good show, their opinions were basically the same. In addition, they were also very curious about why these snakes dared to find trouble with the Yao family today after enduring for hundreds of thousands of years. Unlike the other masters who were curious, the master of the Ning family was well aware of this, because he had already seen a red light quickly shuttling through the snakes. He didn't need to guess to know that the red light was his precious daughter's little red snake. It seemed that these snakes had been subdued by the little red snake. Otherwise, with the strength of these snakes, they would never have the courage to seek revenge on the Yao family. In addition, among these snakes, there seemed to be some of Shui Air's snake-type beasts mixed in, because the Ning family's master found that when he observed the snakes, some of them actually blinked at him. This fact made Master Ning laugh in his heart. What a sly girl. It seemed like Shui Er was determined to find trouble with the Yao family, but he didn't know how far she would go. He was looking forward to it. With such a thought, Master Ning became calmer and calmer. Don't you think that your Yao family should die? Shouldn't you be buried with our ancestor? Seeing that Elder Yao Jiao didn't respond for a long time, the snake leader couldn't help but ask again. He glared at Elder Yao Jiao with his huge snake eyes to show his anger. That Elder Yao Jiao's face was constipated. This question was obviously very difficult for him. If he answered yes, it was obvious that he would boost other people's morale and diminish his own prestige. Moreover, if he really said that, even if the family head didn't punish him, he wouldn't have the face to see anyone in the future. But if he said no, this snake would probably go crazy. After pondering for a moment, Elder Yao Jiao made a wise decision to keep his mouth shut. As long as he didn't express his opinion, this snake couldn't possibly bite everyone it saw like a madman. He felt that if he delayed for some time, he would be able to hold on until the master returned. But his idea was good. However, reality was cruel. When the snake leader saw that Elder Yao Jiao was not in a good mood, the anger in his heart suddenly rose. With a fierce sweep of his huge tail, a huge tree in the large courtyard was cut in half by his tail. Elder Yao Jiao's heart ached when he saw this. One had to know that the tree was the family head's beloved item. If the head of the family came back and saw that his tree of love had been cut in half, who knew what would happen? However, the snake in the lead did not know about his worries. After venting its anger, it swung its thick and long tail again. In just a few seconds, more than half of the precious flowers and trees in the courtyard fell. Stop! Quickly stop! When Elder Yao Jiao saw this, he turned pale with fright. Oh my God! Was he courting death? Didn't he know that his family head loved these flowers and plants? He actually dared to cause such destruction. He really didn't want his life anymore. However, The leading snake didn't know what Elder Yao Jio was thinking. Or rather, even if the snake knew, it wouldn't care. Who asked it to have such a strong backing? It was full of confidence, so it was even more unscrupulous in its destruction. Chapter 2246. Are you the silly one, or am I the silly one? 3. The other snakes, seeing that their leader's actions were very interesting, followed suit. In an instant, sand and stones flew and a strong wind blew. The Yao family's main residence was filled with broken flowers and willows, broken tiles, and broken trees. The ninth elder's expression was as ugly as the Yao family's main residence. Stop! Damn it! All of you stop! Elder Yao Jio's ball-like body was jumping up and down, try to stop the snakes from wreaking havoc. However, how could the snakes give him any face? The more he said this, the more the snakes started wreaking havoc. This fact caused Elder Yao Jio to feel a lump in his throat. He couldn't breathe it out, nor could he swallow it down. His pale and chubby face turned red. When a Ning family's head saw this from not far away, he was truly worried that Elder Yao Jio wouldn't be able to make it and would be suffocated to death by his own saliva. At least for now, it wasn't impossible. However, he had no intention of saving the dying and healing the injured. He was more interested in seeing how far these snakes could go. Oh, everything so far was quite exciting. These snakes actually knew that the plants in the Yao family's main residence were one of the Yao family's old geezer's most precious treasures. He really wanted to see what kind of situation it would be when the Yao family's old man returned to see his treasure in ruins. Just as the master of the Ning family was secretly gloating, suddenly, a powerful pressure came toward the Yao family's main residence, accompanied by an angry roar. Damn it! He Fangshao actually dared to cause trouble in my Yao family. Needless to say, the person who spoke was the head of the Yao family. Although the voice had appeared, the head of the Ning family knew that the Yao family's old man was still a certain distance away from the Yao family's main residence. Otherwise, he wouldn't have chosen to speak out to deter them. Not long after this sound appeared, the Ning family's master and the others saw the snakes retreat in an unusually orderly manner. This fact made everyone dumbfounded. These snakes were clearly well-trained. Elder Yao Jio, who had originally heard the Yao family head's voice, didn't even have time to feel the joy in his heart when he saw these snakes trying to escape after causing trouble. He instantly became anxious and couldn't help but roar, "Damn it! Come back! Don't run! If you have the guts, don't run! If you don't run, just wait for the Yao family's old man to kill you." The ball. Are you the one who's stupid, or am I? Hearing Elder Yao Jio's words, the giant snake in the lead deliberately turned its head and glanced at him before speaking. The disdain on its snake face was not concealed at all. After it finished speaking, the giant snake floated away. He didn't even take a single leaf from the Yao clan. Of course, before it left, it swung its thick tail. Immediately, everyone heard a loud clang. The sturdy walls of the Yao residence collapsed, and even the beautiful gate of the Yao residence was affected. Ugh! Seeing this scene, even the master of the Ning family sympathized with the Yao family. In this battle, although the snakes didn't hurt anyone from the Yao family, they had caused them to lose a lot of face. This was even more serious than killing the Yao family members, because the old man of the Yao family cared about his face the most. When the head of the Yao family anxiously rushed back to the Yao family, he saw that the originally beautiful and luxurious main residence had actually been reduced to ruins. His lungs were about to explode from anger. Damn it! Who did this? The head of the Yao family roared, while the head of the Ning family and the others looked up at the sky. No one intended to speak. Patriarch, it was the Blue Snake clan. Elder Yao Jio answered truthfully with a bitter expression. The Azure Snake clan? How dare they? No, how could they be so bold? The head of the Yao family was not stupid. The always timid Blue Snake clan would not dare and should not provoke the Yao family. After all, the difference in strength was obvious. After saying this, the head of the Yao family turned his eyes to the head of the Ning family and the others, hoping that they could give him an explanation. However, he obviously thought too highly of himself. The master of the Ning family and the others still didn't have the idea of paying attention to him, let alone giving him any explanation. At least in their eyes, they didn't have that obligation. Seeing them like this, the anger in the Yao family head's heart soared. He turned his gaze back to Elder Yao Jio and roared, "You're a dead man. I'm asking you a question." "Master, I'm not sure," Elder Yao Jio said with an aggrieved expression. Why didn't he hear that the family head was asking him? However, of course, he couldn't say this out loud. Otherwise, the family head wouldn't have a way out. "Thanks, you're not sure? Then go and investigate." The head of the Yao family roared in exasperation. "Yes, yes," Elder Yao Jio hurriedly replied. Then, he turned around and wanted to leave this troublesome place. He didn't want to stay and be cannon fodder. Right now, the master was furious. However, he had only taken 2 steps when he was stopped by the Yao family's leader. "Wait, what about the great elder and the others? Such a big thing happened at home, and they didn't rush back? I've already sent them a message." Elder Yao Jio spoke the truth. As for why they didn't return, that wasn't something he could decide. Naturally, he wouldn't take the blame for the great elder and the others. "They're spreading. Tell them to come back to the Yao family immediately, otherwise, don't ever come back." The head of the Yao family roared in anger. "Yes." When Elder Yao Jio heard this, he was secretly happy, but his expression remained unchanged. He respectfully bowed to his family head and quickly retreated. Don't blame him for not caring about the friendship of the same clan. It's really that he can't bear the anger of the family head alone. With this thought in mind, Elder Yao Jio walked even faster. After Elder Yao Jio left, the head of the Yao family once again turned his gaze to the head of the Ning family and the others. He said angrily, You've really gone too far? Are you just going to watch as outsiders come to the Yao clan to cause trouble? Old man Yao, those people are not outsiders. They're here to settle the score with you because of your ill-fated relationship from hundreds of thousands of years ago. We naturally can't interfere. Besides, we can't be considered as your wives. For the sake of the antidote for our clan, we can't interfere. AI. But then again, because of your sudden return, you scared them away and caused us to lose our antidote. So, you have to compensate us. The head of the Chung clan said with a look of dissatisfaction. He was really a little angry, and he didn't mean to anger the head of the Yao family. Because those snakes had escaped in a hurry, they had indeed forgotten to leave the antidote. When the head of the Yao family heard this, he was so angry that his blood flowed backward, but the words that made him even more vomit blood were still coming. The master of the Ning family then said, Old man Yao, I heard that you went to investigate the poisoning incident, but it seems that there's no need to investigate the murderer anymore. It's these vengeful snakes. So, I hereby declare that this matter has nothing to do with my shui. Whoever wants to frame my precious daughter, they'll be the first one to deal with him. With that, Master Ning's aura skyrocketed, making everyone's heart tremble. They believed that Master Ning was telling the truth. Yes, the truth is out now. Because of your old affairs from hundreds of thousands of years ago, our 4 families have also fallen. Old man Yao, shouldn't we have a good talk about this matter? The master of the Eam family also hit him when he was down. If he didn't hit the dog that was down now, when else could he wait? Following that, the Liu family's head also expressed his dissatisfaction. However, he only snorted coldly and stared unblinkingly at the Yao family's head. His meaning was also very obvious, and his face was red with the word seek compensation. The heads of the Yu, Fan, and Qi families, seeing that they had nothing to do with this, all chose to remain silent. This was not the time to stand out. If they offended the head of the Yao family too much, they might be stabbed by him at any time. Therefore, the 3 families were very cautious about this, hearing them criticize him one by one. The face of the Yao family head changed like a palette. One moment red, one moment white, one moment black, and the 2 small flames burning in his eyes made it obvious that he was angry at the moment. However, the few people present were the family heads of the 8 great divine regions. They naturally pretended not to see his anger, especially the master of the Chung family and the master of the Yin family. The two of them were talking and laughing, and it was only natural for him to anger others. The master of the Ning family was the calmest one among them, who asked him to be the most powerful. He didn't believe that the old man of the Yao family would dare to do anything to him, even if the other party had already revealed an expression that looked like he wanted to eat him up. Just like that, the few of them stared at each other, and no one said a word. "Master, it's time for lunch." Suddenly, a gentle female voice sounded out of thin air. Everyone looked up at the sun hanging in the sky and remembered that it was already noon. However, as a god, they really did not have the habit of eating 3 meals a day, but the master of the Ning family was obviously different from them. He was very punctual. "Oh yeah, it's time for lunch, Sai. I'm sure the old man from the Yao family won't keep us for dinner today, so I'd better go back and eat. They'll come back in the afternoon after lunch." The master of the Ning family frowned and thought for a while before saying. After he finished speaking, he really left without any hesitation. He didn't even look at the head of the Yao family, who had a dark expression on his face. "Old man Ning, wait for me. I'm going to get a free meal." The head of the Chung family hurriedly followed. When the other family heads saw this, they also tactfully left. Chapter 2247. Furious. 1. Watching Master Ning and the others leave, Master Yao had no way to vent his anger. In an instant, the coldness in the Yao family was suppressed to the extreme. The members of the Yao family in the mansion didn't even dare to breathe loudly. They could only clean up the mess with their tails between their legs, because they knew that the consequences would be very serious if Master was angry. The head of the Yao family, like a trapped beast, kept circling around the courtyard. At this moment, he had no time to care about the flowers and grass. His mind was full of thoughts on how to get back at them. Now, the Yao family was the leader of the 8 great divine regions, so he absolutely couldn't lose face to a few little bugs. However, no matter how much he thought about it, he still couldn't think of a good idea. What made him even angrier was that when he used his divine sense to scan the Yao family's divine realm, he didn't find any traces of those snakes. How is this possible? How could those snakes be so fast? Had he already escaped from the Yao family's divine realm? When he thought of this possibility, the anger in the Yao family's head grew even deeper. In fact, he had guessed wrong. Not only did the snakes not leave the Yao family's divine realm, but they even captured the Yao family's first elder and the others alive right under his nose. And the reason why he couldn't find the whereabouts of those snakes was also because of Tsang. With Tsang here, it would be a wonder if his spiritual sense could find the target. At this moment, at the same cliff, a familiar scene was unfolding. However, the people hanging on the cliff had changed from the thief to the Yao family's first elder and the others. Although the Yao family's first elder and the others were much stronger than thief, even reverent god-level cultivators would feel the same pressure when facing the abyss at the bottom of the cliff, especially when they were hanging upside down with their heads facing down. All the blood was concentrated on their heads, so they could see the dark abyss without even looking up. What was even more detestable was that the snakes that were acting as ropes were deliberately swaying them. The more timid ones had already begun to foam at the mouth, but the great elder and the others, who were still conscious, felt aggrieved. Fuck! As the elders of the Yao family, they had always flaunted their presence in the Yao family's territory, but now it was still their own territory, but they were in such a sorry state. Such a huge contrast made them unable to accept it. How dare you? Do you know who we are? How dare you treat us like this? I think you damn snakes really don't want to live. The Yao family's first elder, who was hanging upside down, roared with unusual anger. When they had been captured, they had not been mentally prepared at all, and the other party's actions had been done in one go, as smooth as floating clouds and flowing water. Thus, the Yao family's first elder was stunned for a long time before he finally reacted. And the first thing he reacted to was naturally to pull out a tiger skin to make a big flag. However, it was clear that the snakes present learned their bad ways very quickly. When they heard the great elder's words, They all laughed and looked at the Yao family's great elder with naked and undisguised contempt. The snake in the lead laughed so hard that it was about to cramp up. After it had enough, the snake said kindly, "Little old man, of course we know who you are. Otherwise, we wouldn't have captured you." Did they catch him because they knew? Weren't they their enemies? No. To be more precise, he was the enemy of the Yao family. Thanks after the first elder reacted, he immediately guessed this fact. At the same time, he thought of the recent poisoning incident in the Yao family. What else was there to not understand? After all, he was very smart. What kind of enmity do you have with the Yao family? Were you the ones who poisoned the Yao family? Forcing himself to calm down, the first elder of the Yao family asked, "Little old man, is there any benefit in answering your question?" The leading snake smiled, obviously not intending to obediently answer the Yao clan's first elder's question. Hearing this, the Yao clan's first elder really wanted to curse. Fuck, after being caught? Wasn't it something that every person who was caught would do? And the person or beast who caught them should also have the obligation to answer their questions, right? Why was it so difficult for him to ask a question when it came to these snakes? The Yao family's first elder was very depressed, especially when he thought about how he had been caught recently. He was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. Could it be that his birth date was bad? Otherwise, why would such things always happen to him? He couldn't understand, even if he cracked his head. After a long while, he took a few deep breaths and asked again, pretending to be calm, "You're not going to answer me if there's no benefit? That's a must. In this day and age, who would do something without any benefits?" The snake leader asked matter-of-factly, not caring if the Yao clan's grand elder would vomit blood after hearing this. He continued, "Little old man, don't you pretend to be poor in front of me. I know you are the Yao family's richest first elder, and you've been collecting a lot of good things over the years. So, hurry up and hand over your collection, and I promise you'll get it right." Was this a bandit? Which beastie would rob so brazenly? Moreover, the one who robbed them was the Yao clan's first elder. No one would believe this. More importantly, if others knew that he was so useless, how could he face others in the future? When the Yao clan's first elder thought of the severe consequences, his face immediately darkened. However, the snake in the lead was still very understanding. It touched the head of the Yao family's first elder with its tail and comforted him. "Old man, don't be afraid. I won't tell anyone about this. So, don't worry and hand over your assets to me. Only then will I let you live, and with your life, you will have the opportunity to earn more money in the future." Think about it. Don't you think so? This was the truth. However, these words came out of the mouth of the robbing beastie. No matter how he heard it, it felt a little strange. Moreover, the Yao family's first elder was not willing to be robbed so easily. If that happened, he would also lose face, especially when there were so many Yao family members here. After the Yao family grand elder fell silent, the giant snake did not rush him either. It just stared at the Yao family grand elder with its huge, gloomy, and cold eyes, its face full of anticipation. After a long while, the snake leader added, "We won't just take your property. Everyone here has to leave some money to live." After saying that, the python even laughed. Hearing this, the Yao clan's first elder asked in a hot-headed manner, "What if you don't have money? If you don't have money, then leave your life, or wait for your family head to come and redeem you. In short, don't even think about leaving so easily." The leader of the large serpents said with a firm will, Master won't let you off, so you'd better let us go obediently. I might even help you plead for Master to spare you." The first elder of the Yao family quickly said when he thought of his master. However, his words did not scare the leading snake. The snake laughed charmingly and even winked at the Yao clan's grand elder. Then it said indifferently, "Thank you. However, we don't need it. In fact, we've already visited the Yao family. Didn't you receive the notice? Do you have no sense of existence in the Yao family? AI, what a pitiful child. Why don't you follow me in the future?" Chapter 2248, Furious 2. It's you guys. The Yao clan's first elder was dumbfounded after hearing the words of the snake leader. He had received a voice transmission from the ninth elder, saying that the main residence had been attacked. However, the ninth elder didn't make it clear, so he didn't know who dared to cause trouble in the Yao family. He hurriedly rushed back with the elders beside him, but they were caught by these snakes as soon as they entered the city. It wasn't until now that he knew that these snakes were the bold and presumptuous people who had come to cause trouble in the Yao family. This fact made him choke on the words he wanted to say to the snake leader to release them. Since these snakes dare to cause trouble in the Yao family, they must be desperados, so why would they care about his threat? When the Yao clan's first elder thought of this, he became depressed and immediately wilted. Looking at the Yao family's listless first elder, the snake leader pretended to be worried and said, "Old man, are you all right? Please don't take things too hard. We only have a grudge against your family head, and we want to take your little lives so easily. To you, we only seek wealth." These words didn't make the Yao family's first elder raise his spirits. When the snake leader saw this, he became extremely worried. He quickly took the great elder from the tail and began to shake him violently. As he shook him, he shouted with all his might, "Little old man, wake up. You can't take things too hard." The violent shaking soon made the Yao clan's first elder dizzy, and his stomach churned. Don't shake." The Yao family's first elder, whose face was extremely pale, said weakly, "This damn snake must have done it on purpose." Fortunately, there was nothing in his stomach. Otherwise, he would have vomited long ago. But when the snake leader heard these words, it seemed to not hear anything and continued to sway with great strength. Not long after, the great elder frothed at the mouth as he had wished and fainted. Before he fainted, the only thought in his mind was that this stinky snake had done it on purpose. Seeing that the Yao clan's first elder had fainted, the snake leader threw him onto another snake's tail in disdain and went to find its new king. On a giant tree not far away, a little red snake with a crystal-like body was lying on the tree. At this time, the little red snake was coiled up on a high tree branch, watching the show. The big snake in the lead slid to its side and said in a low voice with a charming face, "Wang, most of the Yao clan's people have fainted. What do we do next?" "You fainted? Wake him up again. Have you forgotten what I told you? We're here for money, so you have to find a way to get their money. Otherwise, wouldn't our efforts be in vain?" The little red snake, whose entire body was like a red silk, raised its eyes slightly and said indifferently, it wanted to let the woman know that it could also make money. "I want to eat for free." This thought made it treat the Yao family as a big fat sheep waiting to be slaughtered. As long as it thought about how it was going to make money, it was very excited. Wang Yingming, seeing that the little red snake seemed to be in a good mood, the leader of the large snakes immediately said with a fawning expression, "It's good that you know. In the future, you have to follow my orders, understand?" The little red snake raised its head high and said arrogantly, "Yes, the Azure Snake clan will definitely follow the king's lead." The leader of the snakes expressed his loyalty. The little red snake was also very satisfied with this somewhat stupid but obedient subordinate of its. Thanks, the little red snake was about to close its eyes when it suddenly smelled a familiar scent. It immediately perked up and rushed out like an arrow from a bow. Seeing it like this, the snake leader, who had just crawled out not far away, was very surprised and could not help but stop. Then, the snake leader realized that its king was actually relying on a human woman. Seeing the confusion in the snake's eyes, Lung Ruoxue raised her hand and pointed at the huge, dark gray snake not far away. "Is that silly guy your subordinate?" "MMH. Although it's a little silly, it's very obedient," Lil Fire said with a proud look. "It's good that you're obedient. If it doesn't listen to me, tell me and I'll fix it for you." Lung Ruoxue gently stroked Xiao's cool body and smiled. However, her words caused the large snake to tremble uncontrollably. Then, with a swoosh, the large snake in the lead immediately fled from this place and hid far away. "Woo, what a terrifying woman!" the leading snake cried out in his heart as he fled. The man and woman gave him so much pressure. Looking at the large snake slithering away like a rat, Lung Ruoxue could not help but chuckled in delight. The evildoer beside her looked at her with a pampering expression. On the other hand, Xiaohua said with slight dissatisfaction, "Woman, don't scare my little brothers. They are very timid." Timid? Why would that old man of the Yao family take a fancy to their ancestor? Lung Ruoxue asked in confusion. Of course, they had heard about this from Song. After all, it was a long time ago. Hee. That old man was young back then. Wasn't it said that it wasn't easy for the people of the divine realm to keep a beastie? Furthermore, that azure snake had a pretty good aptitude. In short, it's all the fault of youth. Lil Fire used the little old man's tone to say. Hearing its words, Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but find it funny. She couldn't help but ask, "You speak as if you've lived for a long time. Are you as old as the Yao clan's old man?" "Of course I do. It'll only be older than him. It'll never be younger." When Xiaohua heard this, it puffed out its small chest and said, "Oh." Little Hua, who is even older than the Yao family's old man, what do you plan to do next? How are you going to deal with the Yao family? Lung Ruoxue chuckled as she asked. Rob them. I'm going to take all their money. Fiery said, brimming with confidence. To raise your little brother? Lung Ruoxue teased. Hee. It's good that you know. Woman, it'll leave my underlings in your care in the future. Lil Fire raised its head and looked at Lung Ruoxue as it pleaded. No problem. We'll take good care of them. However, I want to know where you plan to keep them. The Yao family's old man definitely won't let them off. Perhaps this time, the entire snake tribe will be implicated. At the thought of this, Lung Ruoxue suddenly felt worried. After all, she was not willing to implicate the innocent. Woman, don't worry. Songdu has been arranged. The Yao family's kid won't dare to find trouble with the snake tribe. After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Fiery hurriedly replied. Hearing what Xiaohua said, Lung Ruoxue nodded her head. She was very confident in Song's work. Following that, Lung Ruoxue secretly took a look at the situation of the Yao family's first elder and the rest before returning to the inn with the demon. In the afternoon, her godfather and the others were going to find trouble with the Yao family head, so she had to follow. As for Lung Ruoxue and the demon, they had sneaked out to take a look while their godfather and the others were eating. When they returned to the inn, Master Ning and the others had already eaten so much that they couldn't walk and were all lying on the bed. Chapter 2249 Furious 3. Seeing them like this, Lung Ruoxue was especially speechless. She couldn't help but cover her face. Did they have to act like refugees? She had prepared a lot of food, but now the table was so clean that it was as if the food had never been there. In the room, Lung Ruoxue glanced at her godfather, who had eaten his fill and was lying comfortably on the bed, groaning. She pretended to be unhappy and gritted her teeth. Godfather, why did you guys eat all the food? Aren't you afraid of holding on? Little girl, it's shameful to waste food, so we can only eat it all. Besides, we still have to go to the Yao family in the afternoon. Of course, I have to eat my fill. The master of the Ning family said matter-of-factly, but he was a little dissatisfied in his heart because there were too many people coming to freeload. At first, there was only Old Man Sheng, then Old Man Yin came, and then more and more people came. Are you sure you can still go to the Yao family? Lung Ruoxue raised her brows and asked. No matter how she looked at it, she felt that her godfather was already too full to move. I can go. He definitely could. However, I need a rest first. Master Ning even burped as he spoke, causing Lung Ruoxue to shake her head. Lung Ruoxue's heart ached for her godfather, so she still took out a digestive pill and handed it over. Master Ning didn't suspect anything and put it in his mouth. After he ate it, he immediately felt that his stomach wasn't as bloated as before. His entire body was immediately filled with energy and he was in high spirits. Little girl, what kind of pill is this? Why do I feel like my stomach is much more comfortable? Seeing this, Master Ning asked curiously. This girl had too many strange things in her hands, many of which he could not understand. So, in front of Lung Ruoxue, he was like a curious baby. It's a digestion pill. However, I won't give it to you. Otherwise, you won't have any restraint when you eat. Lung Ruoxue understood her godfather's thoughts and immediately cut off his fantasy from the source. When he heard this, Master Ning's face fell, and he looked at Lung Ruoxue pitifully. However, Lung Ruoxue was not moved at all. Instead, she reminded him, "Godfather, you should go to the Yao family. Otherwise, the sky will be dark." "Shui, it's only afternoon. Why is the sky getting dark already?" The master of the Ning family said in a low voice. In front of Shui, this girl, he felt very weak. Wu Shui was bullying him. However, when he noticed Lung Ruoxue's unfriendly gaze, he immediately became as obedient as a kitten and quickly added, "It'll go immediately." With that, Master Ning got up from the bed and walked out of the door, thinking Shui is so fierce. One glare, and he's scared. In the long run, he was afraid that his godfather's status would become lower and lower. This fact made him extremely worried. However, when he went to the other people's rooms and saw that the Chung family's head and the others were still lying on the bed, unable to move, his mood suddenly became better. After venting his anger at those people and belittling them again and again, the Chung family's master and the others endured the feeling of their bellies swelling and followed the Ning family's master, who was in a good mood, to the Yao family. He had no choice but to go. He would be despised to death by Old Man Ning. Although they were all very curious as to why Old Man Ning was fine, even though everyone had eaten so much, they knew that even if they asked, Old Man Ning would not tell them. As a result, this thought was like a kitten scratching at them, accompanying them all the way to the Yao family. After entering the Yao residence, they were invited into the living room. Unexpectedly, the head of the Yao family was actually waiting for them in the living room. However, the Yao residence, which had not finished cleaning up the garbage, looked a little desolate. Thanks seeing them, the Yao family head's anger still hadn't subsided, and he said with a strange expression, "Are you satisfied with the current state of our Yao family? Old Man Yao, look at what you're saying. Your Yao family is like this, and we didn't do it, so what does it have to do with us? What do we have to be satisfied with?" The head of the Chung family first expressed his dissatisfaction, but he couldn't deny that he was very pleased. "That's right, Old Man Yao. Isn't it a little unreasonable for you to blame this on us? You must know that this matter was caused by you. By the way, the snake said that this was caused by you wearing your open crotch pants." As expected, it was never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. It's been so long, but those snakes are still thinking about it. It can be seen how much damage you've caused them. The matter of adding insult to injury naturally couldn't be done without the Yin family's master. Moreover, the Yao family's old thing had expressed dissatisfaction with them and blamed them for standing by and not doing anything. What a joke. He didn't blame this old man for implicating the Yin family. Why did this old thing have to blame them? The Yao family head's words incited the anger of the crowd. However, the other family heads' reactions weren't as sharp as the Chung and Yin family heads. Furthermore, they couldn't hold on any longer and didn't have the energy to argue with the Yao family head. However, spiritual support was still necessary, especially after they had just experienced a delicious meal together in the afternoon. Their hearts were in unison like never before. Therefore, in the blink of an eye, several daggers flew out from the Yao family head's eyes. In fact, after the head of the Yao family said those words, he also felt a moment of regret. However, as soon as he thought about what the Yao family had experienced and how these people had stood by and watched, his regret disappeared without a trace. He even thought that if they had extended their hands at that time, would those damn snakes dare to be so rampant in the Yao family? Thinking up to this point, the head of the Yao family angrily said, "Even if I've caused them harm, you can't just stand by and watch, can you? You should know that we are all from the 8 great divine regions, so we should be the first to ask for help." However, all of you actually became bystanders and watched as those despicable snakes came to my Yao family to wreak havoc. You're helping the evildoer, do you know that? I don't know. I just feel that we shouldn't get involved in the grudges between you and the Blue Snake Clan. After all, we don't have any conflicts with them. More importantly, why didn't I know that our 8 great divine regions needed help? I don't think we're that close. The moment Master Yao finished speaking, Master Ning asked curiously. Master Ning's words made Master Yao's face turn red with anger. He couldn't say anything for a long time. After a long time, he took a few deep breaths and said helplessly, "The divine realm is currently in troubled times. Master Ning, do you still want everyone to do things their own way? Only by joining forces can our 8 great divine domains position in the divine realm be unshakable. Do you all understand?" When he said this, he was almost shouting, and his expression was one of disappointment. Unfortunately, the other family masters didn't seem to have much reaction to his words. Except for the master of the Ning family, who looked up at the sky. The others only cared about holding their stomachs and didn't care about anything else. This fact made the head of the Yao family even angrier. The small red flames in his eyes shot higher and higher, almost materializing and shooting towards the people present. The few family heads present were still busy with their own things. Enough! Can't you all focus on me? The head of the Yao family couldn't take it anymore and directly shouted. At this time, the other family heads blinked their eyes in shock and their mouths were slightly open. They looked at him with the most innocent expression on their faces. "We're very focused," the head of the Chung clan said timidly, still concentrating on stroking his belly. If he ate too much, he would be bloated. "Focus my ass." Seeing the Chung family head's appearance and hearing his words, the Yao family head roared in anger. With this roar, the Chung family head simply put on a frightened expression and looked at him with watery eyes. "Ooh, old man Ning, he's so fierce. I'm so scared." Then, Master Chung exaggeratedly buried his head in Master Ning's shoulder and choked. Seeing him like this, Lung Ruoxue and Master Ning's faces were filled with black lines. However, Master Ning still gave him face and did not push him away. Instead, he glared at Master Yao and said angrily, "Old man Yao, what are you doing? Even if you're in a bad mood, you can't vent your anger on us, right? I know you're angry that we just stood by and did nothing, but why don't you think about it? If you were in our shoes, would you care about this? If the 8 of us join forces to bully a few beasts and the 4 legendary beasts find out, do you think they will let go of this good opportunity? Or do you want the divine realm to fall into chaos and the humans and magical beasts to go to war?" The master of the Ning family deliberately paused and continued. His great reasoning made the master of the Chung family and the others admire him. Even Lung Ruoxue felt that her godfather was too charming at this moment. His aura was also extremely powerful. Feeling the adoring gazes of the people present, especially his own goddaughter, the master of the Ning family couldn't help but feel smug. How could I think that way? I didn't ask you to kill those snakes. I just feel that with you here, if you make your stand clear, those hateful snakes won't dare to wreak havoc in our Yao family." The head of the Yao clan said with an aggrieved expression. Chapter 2250. Can't you guys lend a hand? 1. In fact, he knew that Master Ning's words made sense. After all, it was not necessary for the 8 divine regions to attack together to deal with a few little snakes. Otherwise, the Divine Lord's estate would be alarmed. However, when he saw that the people in front of him were indifferent and were watching the show calmly, he couldn't help but vent his anger. Fuck! The Yao family had been almost reduced to ruins, but these people in front of him didn't even offer him a word of comfort. This fact made him feel extremely unbalanced. Otherwise, he wouldn't have wanted to find trouble with these people. But now, it seemed that not only was the effect minimal, but he also had to carefully smile. This really made him so depressed that he was about to vomit blood. However, he really couldn't offend all 7 of them at once, so he could only sulk in his heart. Seeing Master Yao's aggrieved look, Master Ning almost laughed in his heart. He naturally knew that his words had an effect. People like them had to consider too many aspects when doing things. Many times, they couldn't do as they pleased, so sometimes he was very envious of Shui. At least, whatever Shui wanted to do, she didn't have to think about this and that. When it came to them, many things had to be done in private. To put it bluntly, they had too many things that could not be seen in the light. Thinking of this, the master of the Ning family said seriously, "Yao family head, I understand how you feel, and I also know that your Yao family has indeed suffered heavy losses this time. However, sympathy is sympathy, but there are some things that we still have to make clear." Was he looking for trouble? Hearing Master Ning's words, the Chung family's master and the others immediately straightened their backs and became energetic. The Yao family's master almost vomited blood when he saw them like this. Fuck, these people were definitely doing this on purpose. He had said so much just now, and even complaining couldn't make them so focused, but Old Man Ning's one sentence made them focus. Wasn't this clearly bullying? Although this was the truth, the head of the Yao family still told himself to endure it. He wanted to hear what the old man from the Ning family would say next. After deliberately pausing to scan the reactions of the people present, the master of the Ning family said with a faint smile, "Now that the Yao family's poisoning incident has been cleared up, it's time to discuss our compensation. In addition, we've already negotiated with those snakes that we won't interfere in the matter between you two and that they would give us the snake venom to refine into an antidote. But the sudden appearance of the Yao family's patriarch scared them away. So I think that the snake venom we need should be obtained by the Yao family's patriarch on our behalf. What do you think?" "We have no objections." After Master Ning finished speaking, the other three masters quickly expressed their opinions, and Master Yao, who didn't have time to express his opinion, was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood again. "You bastards! When those snakes attacked the Yao family, it was fine if they didn't help. After all, you had negotiated with them, and people all have selfish motives, so he could barely understand. However, when your deal was not completed, you actually blamed it on him and even wanted him to take responsibility for it. This was a little too much. Or did he look like he was easy to bully? He would do whatever other people asked him to do?" The head of the Yao family thought to himself indignantly. He deeply felt that the fact that he was still able to hold back and not curse at these people or fight them showed that his demeanor was extraordinarily good. In a short moment, the Yao family head's heart was in turmoil, and a huge wave was formed. Anger and hatred intertwined, causing his face to be uncertain. When Lung Roashue saw this, she knew that this old man was extremely angry. However, she found it quite interesting. Thanks, these 8 families had gathered to discuss her matter, but she had not expected that this small matter would push the head of the Yao family to the opposite side of the other 7 families. She also didn't know if the Yao family's old man's previous intentions could be realized. She was really looking forward to it. He also wanted to see how the old man of the Yao family would achieve his goal. At this time, Master Ning saw that although Master Yao was very angry, he could still control himself and didn't jump up. He knew that this hadn't reached his bottom line. Instantly, he decided to work harder. Since Master Yao has no objections, then it's settled, the master of the Ning family said with a smile. When did I say I had no objections?" The head of the Yao family, who had been secretly cursing for a long time, suddenly woke up when he heard this and quickly said, "You haven't said anything for a long time. Didn't you agree?" The master of the Ning family blinked innocently and asked with a pure face, "Who said that?" The head of the Yao clan said angrily, "What's wrong? Are you trying to deny it?" I knew you were always like this. But fortunately, we have so many witnesses this time, so you can't deny it." The master of the Ning family said with a smile. The expression on his face was as annoying as it could get, but he felt good about himself. When the head of the Yao family heard this, his face clearly darkened. He stood up from his seat with a whoosh and shouted, "What do you mean by not acknowledging it? I didn't agree to it at all, okay? If you didn't agree, why didn't you say so earlier? You didn't even let out a fart. Who knows if you didn't agree? Old man Yao, it's not like we just got to know you today. Your performance just now was clearly a silent agreement. If there was something you didn't agree with, you would have strongly opposed it long ago. Why would you be so honest? So, don't quibble. We have so many eyes watching." Seeing this, the patriarch of the Chung clan sighed softly and said, I was obviously making Master Ning so angry that he couldn't say anything. How was that a tacit agreement? The head of the Yao family roared in anger. If he had only been complaining in his heart just now, then the other party had taken his silence as consent without his consent. He couldn't bear it no matter what. Fuck. Where would the Yao family put their face if they continued to endure? However, the head of the Yao family obviously didn't want to offend the other 7 families, so he simply formed an alliance. He looked at the head of the Chi family with anger and said, "Chi family head, you be the judge." Did I agree tacitly? They're clearly the ones who want to force this matter on me. How could I possibly agree to such a thing? Looking at Master Yao, who was looking at him expectantly, Master Chi had a headache. He really didn't want to get involved in this matter. Moreover, personally speaking, he was on Master Ning's side, but old man Yao wasn't easy to mess with. If he offended that old man too much, who knew when he would be stabbed in the back by that old thing? As he thought about this, the head of the Chi family laughed without saying anything and pretended to be deaf. Seeing him like this, the anger in the Yao family head's heart rose again. However, when he turned his gaze to the other 2 people, the 2 of them lowered their heads in unison. Just as he was about to speak, the heads of the Yu and Fan families even started snoring. This scene almost made him explode with anger. Chapter 2251. Can't you guys lend a hand? 2. However, Lung Ruoxu's feelings were the exact opposite of his. She was laughing very happily in her heart. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. What a bunch of old foxes. In order not to offend people, he even did such a thing. Sigh. If she had not seen it with her own eyes, Lung Ruoxue would never have believed that these people were the family heads of the 8 great divine regions. It was a little embarrassing, not being able to find an ally anywhere. The head of the Yao family deeply felt that he had failed as a person. Then, he wanted to play the emotional card, only to see his eyes shimmering. And then, slightly choked with emotion, he said to the head of the Ning family, "Master Ning, I've always respected you, and we've known each other for so many years. Don't you know what kind of person I am? However, I really can't agree to those things you've said, especially the matter of asking me to find those snakes and get their venom for you. Besides, didn't you guys already make a deal? Since they're so untrustworthy, I think you should go and settle the score with them. Don't let them go." Hearing this, the head of the Chang clan couldn't help but say, "Old man Yao, it's not that those snakes didn't keep their word. They were scared away by you. So, you have a responsibility to retrieve the snake venom for us. We have no dissatisfaction with those snakes, so don't kill them with a borrowed knife. We are not that easy to order around." Patriarch Chung, that's not what I meant. I'm really thinking for you. You also know that I have a grudge against those snakes. How could they give me the snake venom? The head of the Yao family felt that the head of the Chung family was somewhat dissatisfied and hurriedly tried to remedy the situation. However, the head of the Chung family only rolled his eyes at him and ignored him. At this time, the master of the Ning family confirmed again, "Yao family head, are you going to refuse our compensation, or are you going to refuse to give us the snake venom? Or are you going to refuse both of them?" I can give you appropriate compensation, but I will never agree to the snake's poison. When I see those snakes, I will definitely not be able to resist the urge to attack. If I accidentally kill the snake that poisoned me, I will not be able to get the snake's poison. The head of the Yao clan asked worriedly, "Yao family head, don't forget that there are also people in your Yao family who have been poisoned. Furthermore, the poison in the Yao family is much more serious than the poison in our 4 families. You said that you were afraid that you would accidentally kill the poisonous snake. Don't tell me that you don't even care about the lives of your own clansmen?" The master of the Ning family asked with a smile. "That's right. You don't care about the Yao family anymore? Old man Yao, I think you'd better obediently accept this mission. Even if it's not for us, it's for the Yao family." The head of the Chung clan laughed evilly. The 2 of them echoed each other, and the head of the Yao family was speechless. Because he only cared about getting angry, he really forgot about the Yao family being poisoned. But then he thought about it, and felt that what they said was very reasonable. He really had to find those snakes. In that case, he had better agree. At the very least, he would be able to regain some of the impression he left in these people's hearts. After thinking this way, the head of the Yao family helplessly nodded his head, which could be considered as an agreement. Seeing that he had achieved his goal, the Chung clan's patriarch was in a great mood. However, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. He was really an idiot. Since the result was the same, it would have been better if he had agreed earlier. They could have looked at him higher. But now, the position of a Yao family head in their hearts was simply as low as dust. Inwardly disdaining the head of the Yao family, the head of the Chung family continued. Since Old Man Yao has accepted the matter of the snake poison, shouldn't we discuss the issue of compensation now? Although Old Man Yao had said that it was compensation, the head of the Chung family had long decided to treat it as compensation. He couldn't let that old thing take advantage of the loopholes in the word game, or they would suffer a great loss. Although compensation and compensation were only one word apart, their meanings were completely different. The amount of compensation would definitely be huge and would satisfy them. However, the compensation, to put it nicely, would give them some money, but to put it bluntly, it was just to send off beggars. Therefore, the master of the Chung family, who had thought it through, had long made up his mind to not let this old thing take advantage of him. Thanks, it should be. The master of the Ning family nodded and casually glanced at the master of the Yao family. Just this glance made the heart of the master of the Yao family beat wildly. He didn't know why, but he had a very bad feeling. The facts proved that his feeling was correct, because as soon as the Ning family's master finished speaking, the Yao family's master saw the four of them each take out a piece of paper from their storage rings and hand it to him. Our compensation has already been prepared. Yao family head, please take a look. The master of the Ning family said with a smile. The feeling of robbing Old Man Yao was really good. He just didn't know how many good things this old man had in his hands, and whether it was enough for them to split. The head of the Yao family casually glanced at what was written on the paper, and his eyes immediately widened. This was the compensation they wanted. Did the four families come to an agreement? Although the things they wanted were different, they were definitely things from his treasure vault. Even if they didn't want everything, they would at least take up half of it. Looking at the things on the paper, he really wondered if they had been to his treasure vault. However, he was very confident in the safety of his treasure vault, so he knew that it was impossible. Then how do you explain the things on the paper? For a moment, the head of the Yao family was at a loss. He racked his brains, but he couldn't figure out what was going on. He didn't even know if he should be glad that they didn't take away all of his treasures. However, the things on the paper were enough to make his heart ache. Originally, he just wanted to give them some compensation. He didn't expect that these people would actually ask for such an exorbitant price. This made the anger in his heart that had just subsided a little surge again. Is this what you want me to compensate you for? After taking a few deep breaths, the head of the Yao family couldn't help but ask. Yup, aren't we very kind? I didn't ask for too much. The head of the Chung family nodded his head vigorously, extremely obedient. This is considered little? The head of the Yao family gritted his teeth. Of course it's less, compared to what you gave to Shui. What we have is nothing. I say, Old Man Yao, could it be that you're reluctant to part with him? These things are just a drop in the ocean for you. Don't tell me you can't take them out. The head of the Chung clan seemed to have understood something. He blinked his eyes and asked in disbelief. Of course I can. The head of the Yao family gritted his teeth, but before he could finish, he heard the head of the Chung family pat his chest and say, It's all right. It was still all right. I'm afraid you can't take it out. At that time, I won't be able to answer to my clansmen. Don't you guys think that you're asking for a bit too much? The head of the Yao clan said viciously, as if he would bite if the Chung clan head and the others didn't dare to say much. However, the head of the Chung family was not afraid of him. He heard the Chung family head say with a very innocent and sincere face, We don't want much at all. Chapter 2252. Can't you guys lend a hand? 3. These words made Master Yao's face darken even more. Then, he said, ruthlessly, I can only agree to half of the compensation you asked for. To be honest, even half of it would hurt him, but he knew that if he gave too little, these people would definitely not agree. So he gritted his teeth and thought of it as spending money to avoid disaster. When the head of the Chung family and the others heard this, they were overjoyed, but they didn't show it on their faces. In fact, they had written so many things because of Old Man Ning's idea. In Old Man Ning's words, Old Man Yao would definitely haggle the price. If they asked for too little, they might get nothing. When they heard this, they felt that it was reasonable. Therefore, they had such a compensation that made the head of the Yao family grit his teeth and feel a deep pain in his heart. And the facts proved that Old Man Ning was right. It was only half of the compensation. It had already exceeded their expectations. It could be said that they were quite satisfied. However, they still pretended to be dissatisfied. With the Chung family head as their representative, they said very reluctantly, "Old Man Yao, so many of our people were poisoned by your Yao family, yet you're only paying us half of what we're asking for. Isn't that a little too much? That's a lot." The head of the Yao clan said angrily, "We want 2/3. The head of the Chung family pretended to haggle. "They'll only give half. Do you want it or not?" The head of the Yao family said with a look of indifference. Hearing him say this, the four of them looked at each other. In the end, they had no choice but to nod in agreement. When the head of the Yao family saw this, he felt extremely proud. He was the final victor. If these people wanted to take advantage of him, there was no way. However, if he knew that the other party was already very satisfied with just half of the compensation, he would probably vomit blood in anger. Seeing that the issue of compensation had been settled, the head of the Yao clan wanted to start discussing Lung Ruoxu's matter with them. However, the head of the Chung clan and the others demanded that he pay the compensation first. The Yao family head wouldn't allow them to go back on their word after viciously taking the items they wanted to compensate them with. Originally, discussing Lung Ruoxu's matter was the reason why he had invited these people here. However, because of the poisoning incident, he had not had the chance to discuss it. Now that the culprit had been found and the compensation to the four families had been paid, he had to take the opportunity to talk about Lung Ruoxu. Otherwise, wouldn't the price that the Yao family had paid be in vain? His heart was bleeding when he thought of the precious items that had left him. However, when the patriarch of the Chung clan heard his words, he couldn't help but say, "Old Man Yao, you're not going to settle the score with those snakes and take back the snake venom we want, but you're still in a mood to discuss the matter of that little girl, Shui. Your heart is really big. There are so many infected people in the Yao family who are still waiting for you to save them. As the head of the family, you can't let them down. Aren't you all the same, doing nothing all day? What right do you have to criticize me?" The head of the Yao family roared, clearly not in a good mood. On the other hand, the head of the Chung family and the others, who had received quite a bit of compensation, were in a good mood and naturally didn't mind his tone. Then, he heard the head of the Chung family say with a smile, "How can we be the same as you? Although our family members are also poisoned, but it's much less severe than your Yao family's poison. Your Yao family's poison is contagious, and who knows if there will be more Yao family members infected. So, no matter what, you should be more anxious than us. That's right. I suggest that you first cure the poison of the poisoned person, then we can discuss other things. Otherwise, if the Yao family members find out, they will be disappointed in you as the head of the family. I don't think we should disturb you any further. We'll take our leave first." The master of the En family echoed. After he finished speaking, he stood up and was about to leave. Seeing this, the others also planned to leave. When the head of the Yao family saw this, he immediately became anxious. He hurriedly blocked their path and shouted, "None of you are allowed to leave before we finish discussing Lung Ruoxu's matter." Looking at the Yao family head's determined look, the Ning family head and the others were helpless. Just as they were hesitating about how to deal with it, they saw the 9th elder of the Yao family run into the living room, sweating. "Patriarch, something has happened to the 1st elder and the others." Elder Yao Jiu couldn't care less about the presence of others as he spoke anxiously. What did they do? The head of the Yao clan couldn't help but frown at these words. They've been captured by the Azure Snake clan. Elder Yao Jiu reported. He had also just received the news. Because he had been unable to contact the Great Elder and the others, he had personally gone to look for them. However, he had learned that they had returned to the main city. After investigating from many sides, he finally found clues that the Great Elder and the others had been captured. In fact, the Great Elder had been secretly competing with him. Therefore, when he found out that the Great Elder had been captured, he was still gloating. However, he had to inform the master of the family. After all, the Great Elder was not the only one who had been captured. Damn it, it's the Blue Snake clan again. The Yao family head's face was as black as ink. It could also be said that his expression today had never been normal. Thanks, old man Yao. You'd better quickly go and save your Yao family's Grand Elder and the others. Now that they've fallen into the Azure Snake's hands, I can't imagine how much torture they'll have to endure. Seeing this, the head of the Chung clan asked with a face full of concern. In reality, he wanted to go and watch the show and find those blue snakes to get their snake venom. However, the premise was that Elder Yao Jiu had to know the location of the Blue Snake clan. Otherwise, wouldn't all his efforts be in vain? Where are those dead snakes? Even though he was angry that they could not talk about Lung Ruoxue again, he could not deny that Old Man Cheng's words were not without reason. No matter how useless First Elder and the others were, they were still his descendants and members of the Yao family. Naturally, they couldn't fall into the hands of Snake. If that was the case, where would the Yao family put their face? Someone saw a group of snakes on a cliff near the Yao family's divine realm. I wonder if they're the ones who kidnapped the First Elder and the others. Elder Yao Jiu said with uncertainty. That's easy. Well, no, when we go and take a look. The head of the Chung clan immediately suggested upon hearing this. He was so eager to set off immediately. Let's go and take a look. After a moment of silence, the head of the Yao family spoke. He was the first to leave. Seeing this, the other family heads also teleported away. Very quickly, the Yao family head and the others arrived at the cliff. Sure enough, they saw the Yao family's First Elder and the others hanging on the cliff like goods. However, at this time, their image was not very good because the Yao family's elders were hanging upside down and only wore small underpants. The rest of their bodies were bare. Moreover, their skin was pale without a trace of blood. In the rustling autumn wind, they were shivering from the cold. Seeing this, the head of the Chung family couldn't help but sigh. That's so pitiful. How come they've been stripped naked? His words, unsurprisingly, received a roll of eyes from the head of the Yao family. Retracting his gaze, the Yao clan head instructed Elder Yao Jiu. Hurry up and put them down. Yes, Elder Yao Jiu replied. Then, he looked around vigilantly. After confirming that there were no enemies, he walked to the edge of the cliff with confidence. Just as he was about to untie the elder closest to him, he suddenly realized that the rope tied to the elder had moved and was bearing its sharp, venomous fangs at him. Instantly, Elder Yao Jiu was so frightened that he took a huge step back. Fuck, this wasn't a rope, it was a snake. However, these snakes were thin and long, and they did not move. They looked no different from ropes. The head of the Yao family and the others also realized that the ropes that were holding the Yao family elders were not real ropes, but live snakes. For a moment, they all forgot to react. Ugh, this idea is really too original. The head of the Chung clan and the others couldn't help but think to themselves. Only the head of the Yao clan was observing those ropes, and then, to his surprise, he began to attack. Old man Yao, how can you attack? Don't you care about the lives of these Yao family elders? The head of the Chung clan couldn't help but remind her. As he spoke, he once again received a dagger glare from the head of the Yao family. As he finished speaking, he personally witnessed an elder of the Yao family being thrown off the rope and falling off the cliff. Seeing this, he quickly covered his mouth and thought, am I a jinx? How could he be so accurate? As for the rope that was attacked by the head of the Yao family, it nimbly climbed up a huge tree and escaped. This scene made the family heads sympathize with the elder who had fallen off the cliff. In fact, it was all the fault of the family head that the elder had lost his footing. They didn't know if that fellow would die with his eyes wide open. But fortunately, That elder was unconscious when he fell and didn't know anything. Otherwise, they would have been killed by the screams. The few of them secretly complained to themselves without any sympathy. However, when they saw the gloomy face of a Yao family's head, they didn't say anything more, but they didn't intend to help. Seeing this, the head of the Yao family was furious. In the end, he couldn't help but roar, "Can't you guys lend a hand?" Hearing this, the other family heads looked at each other. Then they saw the Chung family head say with a troubled expression, "We're so clumsy. If we accidentally push your family's elder off the cliff, won't you blame us? If you don't blame us, we'll help you. Can you guys be more careful?" The head of the Yao family asked, holding back his anger. In his eyes, these were clearly excuses from the other party. However, he didn't dare to get angry, afraid that these people would quit in a fit of anger. After all, with these people around, even if they didn't care about anything, they still had a deterrent effect. To put it bluntly, it was better to have them around than to have none. Chapter 2253. The Enlarged Lil, Fire, 1. Even if you're being careful, there are times when you make mistakes. We really can't guarantee that we won't make a mistake, so you'd better think carefully. If we accidentally make a mistake, don't blame us. Because you were the one who shamelessly asked for our help, everyone can be a witness. Patriarch Chung really didn't believe in Patriarch Yao's credibility, so he had no choice but to say the ugly words first. But in reality, he didn't really want to meddle in the Yao family's business, so he spared no effort to find a way to shirk it. The other family heads present had similar thoughts as him. Everyone knew in their hearts that it was best not to get involved in the Yao family's business. Otherwise, it would definitely be a waste of effort. When the head of the Yao family heard these words, although he was furious, he was not stupid. He knew that now was not the time to offend these people, so he could only suppress his anger and say, "Don't worry and just help. If something really happens to these elders, it's their own lives. They can't blame you. Don't worry. I will definitely not blame you. I won't blame you for now, but if something really happens to these elders, it's hard to say if the Yao family will come after you in the future." After the Yao family's head said those words of no blame, he couldn't help but feel disgruntled in his heart. Who asked him not to offend them now? After hearing Master Yao's promise, the other masters were still worried, so Master Ning said, "Words are not proof. I think you'd better take a blood oath." "A blood oath is good. As long as you make a blood oath, we will immediately help you save these people." Hearing this, the master of the Chung family was the first to respond, and the other masters also nodded repeatedly. Obviously, they very much agreed with Master Ning's proposal, and they all looked at Master Ning with admiration, thinking, as expected of Master Ning, why didn't they think of it? In this way, if something really happened, the Yao family wouldn't dare to do anything to them even if they were dissatisfied with them. Otherwise, the blood oath would kill them first. The more they thought about it, the more they felt that they had to make the head of the Yao family swear a blood oath in the name of the Yao family. Otherwise, they would rather be charged with the crime of watching with folded arms than meddle in the Yao family's affairs. In any case, it wasn't the first time that the head of the Yao family had given them such a big label. They were also slowly getting used to it. A blood oath? When the other patriarchs felt that it was necessary, the Yao family's patriarch heard it and was so angry that the flames of anger in his heart rose. Fuck, could a blood oath be casually taken? That was a blood oath. In other words, if he made a blood oath, as long as it was his descendants who were related to him by blood, they could not find trouble with these families. Otherwise, the Yao family would be the one in trouble. Therefore, this blood oath must not be taken. If the other party only wanted him to write a written pledge or make an oath, he could reluctantly agree. But a blood oath? No way. In fact, there was another reason why the head of the Yao family was not willing to make a blood oath. If he had only written a written pledge or made an ordinary oath, he might not have been able to find trouble with the other 7 families. But that didn't mean that his own family members couldn't find trouble with them. Therefore, he could never make a blood oath. However, he also knew that if he didn't make a blood oath, these old foxes would definitely not be willing to help him. Therefore, when he thought of this, his gloomy face became even darker. Thanks, Elder Yao Jiao, who was at the side, did not dare to step forward at all when he saw his family head's face that was as dark as ink. He tried his best to lower his presence so that the family head would not vent his anger on him. However, he was obviously overthinking it. The head of the Yao family couldn't care about him right now because he had a better target to vent his anger on, and that was the snakes that tied the Yao family elders down. After making up his mind, Master Yao glared at Master Ning and the others with his eyes that were spitting fire. You wanted to take a blood oath? Oomph. I can't afford to use you, but I don't need your help. After he finished speaking, the head of the Yao family flew towards the cliff in a rage. Seeing this, the head of the Chung clan couldn't help but say in disappointment, Old Man Yao is really a jokester. They don't even know how to bargain with us, sigh. I thought he was a smart person, so I overestimated him. As soon as these words came out, the Ning family's master and the others couldn't help but have black lines on their foreheads. They thought to themselves, are you shooting after the horse? They didn't think that it would be useful for the old man of the Yao family to bargain with them over this matter. After all, they didn't sincerely want to help, so they naturally wouldn't give the other party a chance to bargain. On this point, they had the opposite opinion of the Chung family's patriarch. They felt that the Yao family's patriarch was very wise. Elder Yao Jiao, who had also heard these words, was so angry that he could not catch his breath and almost passed out. Fuck, was there such an infuriating fellow? If it wasn't for the fact that this wasn't the right place, Elder Yao Jiao couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't get angry. Although his status might not be anything in the eyes of these people, as a member of the Yao family, he was still a hot-blooded person. Naturally, he couldn't just stand by and watch them bully his family head. But now, it seemed like he could only swallow his anger. At the thought of this, he choked and coughed a few more times. When the head of the Chung clan heard this, he couldn't help but comfort her with a worried expression. Yao Xiaojiu, are you all right? Don't be afraid. Although your Yao family's elders might lose their lives, your family's ancestor will definitely be fine. As long as he's here, your Yao family will never go extinct. As the saying goes, if the old doesn't go, the new won't come. Now that these elders are dead, Old Man Yao will definitely work harder to make more people. So don't you worry. Rest assured, my ass. Hearing these seemingly concerned words, Elder Yao Jun not only couldn't feel happy, but he even felt a faint anger in his heart. However, he knew that this was definitely not the time to argue with the Chung family head. Saving people was more important. The Yao family was not like these guys who were just there to watch the show, bored to death. There was plenty of time to argue with them. There were so many elders of the Yao family waiting for them to save them. With this thought in mind, Elder Yao Jiao wisely ignored the Chung family head's words and followed after the Yao family head to once again rush out of the cliff to save people. Seeing this, the master of the Chung family said again, Ayaya, why was the Yao family's little brat also so restless? Those snakes are not to be trifled with. As soon as he finished speaking, the few people watching the show saw Elder Yao Jiao being swept by a slender snake tail and sent flying more than 10 meters away. Elder Yao Jiao was in an extremely sorry state as he tried his best to stand firm and not fall to the ground. I told you, these snakes are not to be trifled with. The head of the Chung family felt that he was very wise, but this time, before he could finish speaking, he immediately received 2 sharp daggers in his eyes. Seeing this, he calmly shrugged his shoulders and said, I'm just telling the truth. Chapter 2254. Lil fires enlarged too. However, the head of the Yao family and Elder Yao Jiao, who were glaring daggers at him, didn't have much time to pay attention to him, because more and more snakes were climbing up from the bottom of the cliff and surrounding the two of them. These snakes seemed to be under someone's command. Every time the head of the Yao family and Elder Yao Jiao were about to attack them, they would deliberately climb onto the bodies of the Yao family's elders. With this, the two of them didn't dare to attack easily with Gu Fei around. Seeing this, the head of the Chung family said with a smile, These snakes are so smart. Yes, these snakes were very smart. They might not be as strong as the Yao family head and elder Yao Jiao, but they had hostages in their hands, so they were absolutely fearless. As for the Yao family's patriarch and elder Yao Jiao, they were much more depressed than the snakes. At this moment, Master Yin came to Master Cheng's side and nudged him. He whispered, "Old man Cheng, aren't you afraid that old man Yao will come after you for this? That guy is very insidious. I think you should stop while you're ahead. You have to know that he's very angry right now. Tisk, if I don't anger him, will he not find trouble with our Cheng family? Old man Yin, when did you become so simple-minded? He'll tell you. Old man Yao's ambition was huge. He might not be satisfied with just trampling on our 7 families. Do you understand what I mean? So, as long as we have the chance, we must do everything we can to attack him. We can't give him the time or the chance to deal with us." The head of the Chung clan said with a serious expression, "Does he really have such great ambitions? Aren't you afraid of angering the crowd?" When the Yin family head heard this, he couldn't help but ask with wide eyes. He had always thought that the Yao family head was just a bit greedy and petty, but he had never thought that he was really as the Chung family head had said and had great ambitions. However, he believed that although the Chung family head seemed unreliable, he would never make irresponsible remarks. Public anger? Do you think he would offend all of us at once? Have you forgotten the purpose of his invitation? This time he's here for old man Ning, but next time it might be us. So, we must not let him succeed, understand? Although he had the best relationship with the old man of the Ning family among the 8 great divine domains, this was by no means an important factor for him to protect the old man. He also believed that other than the old man, no one knew better than him the ambitions of the old man of the Yao family. When Master Yin heard this, he also nodded solemnly. He looked at Master Ning's calm face and admired him in his heart. Look at the old man from the Ning family. He was so calm at all times and would never panic. He felt that he still had a lot to learn from him. Just as the master of the Yin family was feeling emotional and decided to follow the footsteps of the old man from the Ning family, he suddenly heard a roar. "I won't let you off." When Master Yin heard this, he couldn't help but turn his head in curiosity. Then, he widened his eyes in disbelief. What did he see? Had the old man of the Yao family gone crazy? Why did they suddenly attack so crazily? They didn't even ask if they were friends or enemies and even attacked their own elders. Seeing this frightening scene, the few family heads present could not help but break out in cold sweat. Oh my God, this was too unbelievable. Thanks, this was because they saw with their own eyes that after the head of the Yao family attacked the snakes for a long time and couldn't even touch a single scale, he went crazy and attacked the Yao family elders and the snakes together. Furthermore, several elders had already been hit off the cliff with the snakes. They didn't know what to say about this. They could only stare speechlessly with their eyes wide open and their mouths half open, unable to regain their senses for a long time. "We're finished. It's finished. Old man Yao has gone crazy." The Chung clan's patriarch muttered to himself with a worried expression. His voice wasn't soft, so elder Yao Jiao, who was worriedly looking at the Chung family's patriarch not too far away, naturally heard him clearly. After giving the Chung family's patriarch a deep look, elder Yao Jiao hurriedly ran to his side and worriedly pulled on the other party's arm, which was about to attack, and loudly said, "Master, don't. Get out of the way. I'm going to kill these damn snakes today." The head of the Yao family, who was burning with anger, didn't listen to anyone's advice at all. At this time, his calmness and rationality had been replaced by anger. Moreover, he had never been toyed with like this in his long life. Yes, he had a feeling that he had been played by someone, and the people who played him were some lowly snakes in the divine realm. This fact made him extremely angry. One had to know that in the immortal realm, there were not many people who he acknowledged as having a higher status than him. It was even more impossible for these snakes to be among those people. Moreover, he was on equal footing with the 4 kings of the Beast Clan and the kings of the Divine Beast Clan. Naturally, he would not put these snakes that were as small as dust in his eyes. But now, these damn snakes were toying with him. As soon as they realized that he had the intention to attack, they all hid behind the Yao family elders and exposed the Yao family elders' bodies to be used as a shield for them, causing him to be tied up. This knowledge made the anger in his heart multiply. Therefore, in his impulse, he did not care about these descendants. However, it didn't matter if he didn't care about the life and death of these descendants. Elder Yao Jio knew that he had to persuade him. Otherwise, when the family head calmed down, he might hold a grudge against him. To him, it would definitely not be worth it. After quickly weighing the pros and cons, Elder Yao Jio said with a heavy heart, "Master, they are the descendants you have placed your hopes on. If they fall, the losses to our Yao family will be incalculable. So, family head, please calm down. Don't be fooled by these snakes." When Elder Yao Jio said these words, it could be said that he loved and hated these snakes at the same time. He loved them because they had the opportunity to get rid of all their opponents, but he hated them because they had implicated the innocent, because his people were also among the people who had been kidnapped by these snakes. That was why he couldn't bear to. However, these snakes were not raised by him, so they naturally could not act according to his wishes, especially his nemesis, the Yao family's first elder. Other than being unconscious, he was still alive and well. Looking at the Yao family's first elder, who had been stripped to the point that he was only left with a pair of underpants, he really hoped that the family head would also throw him off the cliff. Unfortunately, his wish was beautiful, but reality was cruel. In his madness, the head of the Yao family had ruthlessly attacked many elders, but he had never attacked the Grand Elder. Thus, his wish would not be fulfilled in a short period of time. It's their honor to die for their family. Elder Yao Jio's persuasion caused the head of the Yao family to waver for a moment, but he quickly steeled his resolve. He didn't want these snakes to be too smug. He wanted to let these hateful fellows know that he had no weaknesses. Don't even think about using these elders to threaten me. He had no lack of descendants. Chapter 2255, Lil Fires Enlarged 3. With this thought in mind, the head of the Yao family directly threw Elder Yao Jio to the side and started his furious attack again. But this time, the snakes had changed their strategy. Originally, it was his attack that followed the snakes. Wherever the snakes went, his attack would follow. However, this time, his attack arrived first, and then a large number of snakes quickly appeared there, shaking their heads to lure him, but he just couldn't hit them. The targets he had targeted were the Yao family's elders, many of whom were Elder Yao Jio's trusted aides. This fact made Elder Yao Jio's heart ache. In for a penny, in for a pound. Elder Yao Jio mustered up his courage and once again hugged his family head's body because he knew that this couldn't continue. Otherwise, all the Yao family elders would be annihilated. "Master, please stop. Otherwise, the elders will all die." Elder Yao Jio shouted with a pained expression. His heart was also bleeding because many of the elders who had fallen off the cliff were his trusted aides. He didn't know if the elders were still alive. "Yup, old man Yao, if you continue to fight like this, the Yao family's elders will really be wiped out by you." Sigh. How pitiful. If you had known this would happen, you would have taken a blood oath. With our help, even if we failed, your Yao family wouldn't have lost so many elders. But now, you should prepare for their funeral. As for the public, I suggest you say that they are poisoned. At least it's better than letting people know that they were killed by you. Otherwise, it will definitely cause panic in the divine realm. Those who don't know the truth will think that a homicidal maniac has appeared in the divine realm. The head of the Chung clan interjected, wishing for the world to be in chaos. His words instantly angered the Yao family's patriarch and Elder Yao Jio to the point that their faces turned ashen and gradually turned black. In the end, the Yao family's patriarch finally couldn't bear it anymore and roared, "If you don't speak, no one will think you're mute." If he could, he really wanted to sew up the mouth of this damn old man from the Chung family. It was really too infuriating, wasn't it? At this time, he was extremely frustrated. These snakes were originally meant to be his punching bags, but who knew that not only did they not make him vent his anger, but they made him even angrier. He didn't understand why it was like this. What was the problem? The Yao clan head's mind was in a mess, while the Chung clan head, who heard his reaction, said with an aggrieved expression, "I'm just concerned about you. If you don't appreciate it, then forget it. But I'm a vengeful person, so you'd better remember. Don't ask me for help in the future. I don't care about you. Don't worry. I will never ask you for help." The head of the Yao family gritted his teeth. Then his gaze involuntarily turned to the calm and composed head of the Ning family, and he said, "Master Ning, I know you are the most loyal." However, before he could finish, he was interrupted by the calm master of the Ning family. "As long as you make a blood oath, everything will be fine." Just this one sentence made the Yao family head swallow the rest of his words back into his stomach. Fuck. If he was willing to make a blood oath, would he still need to play the emotional card with him? However, these people obviously wouldn't be moved by his words. He also knew that he couldn't continue to be impulsive. If these elders all died, the impact on the Yao family's strength would be significant. Unfortunately, now that he had thought it through, those fellows who were watching the show were not easy to manipulate. The head of the Chung family had been completely offended by him, so he could not be counted on, and the others wanted him to make a blood oath. This was exactly what he was most unwilling to do. The head of the Yao family, who had been silent for a long time, kept thinking in his heart. Then, he began to quietly send voice transmissions to a few people other than the heads of the Ning and Chung families, trying to move them in private. When they heard this, they were all surprised. Did this mean that they wanted to split up? The few people who received the message didn't change their expressions, but no matter what the head of the Yao family said, they insisted that he had to take a blood oath. This fact made the head of the Yao family so angry that he almost vomited blood. Fuck, why did he never know that the 7 families were so united? How did this happen? When did this happen? The more the head of the Yao family thought about it, the more frightened he became. This feeling of being isolated made him quite uncomfortable. One had to know that he wanted to isolate others. Why was he the one being isolated now? This terrifying result made him feel a trace of panic that he had never felt before. However, he was worthy of being in a high position for many years, and he did not show it on his face. Seeing that no matter if it was open or secret communication or playing the emotional card, it couldn't change these people's minds. The head of the Yao family had to give up the idea of asking them for help for the time being. However, he didn't continue to attack the snakes, but stared at the snakes with big eyes and small eyes. Thanks seeing this, Lung Ruoxue, who had come with the Ning family's master and the rest to watch the show, couldn't help but talk to Tsang in private. She found out from Tsang that those who had been beaten off the cliff were still alive. This fact made her extremely surprised. How could they still be alive? Lung Ruoxue transmitted her voice to ask curiously. Furthermore, from her tone, it seemed like she was slightly regretful. Hearing this, Tsang, who was lying comfortably in the god-protecting pagoda, could not help but chuckle softly and said, "Girl, if I don't let them die, they won't die. Of course, if Nyo doesn't want them to live, then I can naturally fulfill your wish. Let them live first." Xiaohua is still counting on their money to support his subordinates. Lung Ruoxue wiped away the cold sweat on her forehead and replied helplessly, "Since that's the case, let them live a few more days. But, girl, I have good news for you." Tsang kept him in suspense and said mysteriously, "What good news?" The moment Lung Ruoxue heard this, she immediately perked up and looked like a money grubber. She loved hearing good news the most. "There's good stuff at the bottom of this cliff," Azure said with a smile. It loved to see Nyo's money-grubbing appearance the most. It was really as cute as it could be. "What is it?" Lung Ruoxue asked impatiently. She was clear that it was a piece of cake for Tsang to find out what happened at the bottom of the cliff. "Nyo, when you have time, you'll know when you go down and see for yourself. I have to keep it a secret, or there won't be any surprises." Hee hee. Azure smiled evilly and was determined not to tell Lung Ruoxue about the situation below the cliff. Just as the two of them were conversing, suddenly, Lung Ruoxue heard a loud rumbling sound. She couldn't help but turn around to take a look and her beautiful eyes instantly widened. Oh my God! What was this? They saw that a huge creature the size of a small mountain had appeared above the cliff. No, to be precise, it was even bigger than a small mountain. The mountain-like object was actually a snake. It was a fiery red snake that was like a transparent crystal. The snake's diameter was at least 10 meters, and its body was over 1,000 meters long. The beautiful scales on the snake's body were the size of millstones. At this moment, the red snake was glaring at the head of the Yao family with its cold eyes, which were bigger than an adult's fist. The head of the Yao family's hair stood on end. This snake was definitely the largest one he had ever seen. Even the true form of the Dragon Emperor of the Dragon Clan was probably only this big. Moreover, he wasn't sure what species this snake was. It didn't look like a blue snake at all because this snake belonged to a species he didn't know of. Could this snake be a variant of the Gray Clan? The head of the Yao family mumbled to himself as he sized up the red snake that was staring at him. The other patriarchs present also naturally assumed that this red snake was a mutated species of the Blue Snake Clan. They couldn't help but sigh inwardly. No wonder the Blue Snake Clan dared to provoke the Yao family. It turned out that there was a mutation in their clan. However, wasn't this snake's mutation a little too thorough? One had to know, not to mention the Azure Snake Clan, even the strongest of the Snake Clan, the Silver Ring Snake Clan, didn't have such a large body. There was only one red snake in the Divine Realm. What was even more unbelievable was that they could not tell the cultivation level of this giant red snake. However, they could feel the aura on the snake's body. They knew that the snake's strength should be around Reverend God level. With that, the old man from the Yao family would have a worthy opponent. With this thought in mind, the few family heads calmed down instead, because they could clearly feel that this snake was targeting the head of the Yao family. Master Ning, who was also suspicious of the snake's identity, didn't have the same thoughts as the others. Instead, he quietly turned his gaze to Lung Ruoxue, who was hiding behind him. When Lung Ruoxue saw this, she silently nodded her head. She had been observing the giant red snake for a while now. The more she looked at it, the more familiar it felt to her. Finally, from the tip of the giant red snake's tail, she could confirm that she recognized this snake, because this snake was Lil Fire. Although Lil Fire had grown bigger, he still had some small habits. But this fact also made her a little horrified. Oh my God, how did such an exquisite and small fellow like Lil Fire suddenly become a huge monster? She couldn't accept this. One must know that the original Little Fire was so beautiful and cute, always forming a ring and wearing a bangle on her wrist. However, the current Little Fire really made her unable to think of all those. She couldn't imagine what it would be like if such a huge fire turned into a bracelet on her wrist. It was quite scary. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.